So cuddly. Yeah.
All right. Hello, everybody. This is our hangout for Vaginal Fantasy Down Under, and tonight we are talking about Fortune's Porn, which was awesome. Anybody got anything they'd like to say to start us off?
I concur.
I concur too. I really enjoyed this.
Well, I'm actually thinking I enjoyed it so much. I know I'm going to be reading the rest of the series. I've already ordered it on an interlibrary loan. Who knows when it'll get here? But I'm thinking let's have a hangout when we've read all three.
Let's
That's
do
a
that.
good idea.
That's a really good idea because I don't know. I don't know if the other two, if you two are doing the Land Down Under. We have another group, by the way. Anyone who doesn't realise that, if they watch this and post, we have another group. We do a series every year. And this year it's not been quite so good, so maybe this can be our kind of alternate series.
Do it later in the
Well,
year.
they're quick reads too, so that won't be a bad thing.
Yeah. Won't take very long
They
or
were
anything.
really quick reads. And actually they really started to move too. Like the beginning of the book was like, it was still really good. I love the world building and everything, but it's when Mel was going, is anyone coming to the hangout on Monday? And I was like, I'm trying, I'm going to get there. I'm like 33%, and I should be able. And then honestly, once I got to like 40%, the rest of it flew. I was like, couldn't stop reading, and it was.
I agree. Yeah, I was thinking that when you said that, actually. I was thinking if it wasn't for the fact that this was the Easter weekend, I would respond with, you're totally going to be fine, you will make it through without any problems. Not only because it's a quick read, but because it's just so exciting. But I did because it was the weekend, and it's like, I don't know what your plans are for Easter. So
it was really good. Yeah, I finished it yesterday, and I didn't think I'd finish. Like when I responded, I thought, oh, I might be still reading it on Monday, and I finished it yesterday afternoon, and I actually had to put it down and like save the last chapter like in bed in the evening because I could have just finished it.
It's a really good book. It's very enjoyable. So shall we start off with Devi and have a chat about her?
Yeah.
Devi of the Awesomes. How awesome was it to start off like that, introducing Devi with having a relationship with a guy that was perfectly fine, nothing wrong with it, but was casual?
Yeah.
Yeah. It kind of already, you got a good sense of her right from the start. She's career driven. She likes a bit of fun, but she doesn't treat she didn't treat him like a bimbo or like someone to be cast aside. He was still a friend, which I thought was really good. And she trusted his opinion, but they were, the friends with benefits basically. It was really good.
I actually think I've read a book or a couple of books that have started out in a similar manner, especially these sorts of stories. Not necessarily sci-fi, but these sorts of paranormal type romances and things, where it started off in a similar manner, and I didn't think it worked very well. She came across as slutty rather than just being in charge of her own sexuality, and that's what I really liked about this. She just was in charge. She knew what she wanted. She had a compatible partner. The one thing I didn't like was the fact that he started sort of proposing, and I was like, I thought this relationship was pretty clear. It's obviously very clear in her head. What's going on?
Yeah.
Was anybody else bothered by that?
A little bit, but I thought, from a writing point of view, I think it was just helping to paint her, like the author did it on purpose, I think, to really paint her as that she has a goal, she has a desire. So I think it was used as more of a plot device or a character device. So So I absolutely agree, but I think it was done for effect, if it makes sense.
Which, to me, I think I actually am like, yeah, that's cool. I'm okay with it under those circumstances.
Yeah. Because it definitely did paint her as kind of going, you went, yeah, like you said, she knew what she wanted. It's in first person as well, and it just kind of, you went, yeah, cool, nothing's going to get in the way. So when you see her kind of starting to get through some of those back and forths about Rupert, I'm sorry, I'm just, maybe another 10 minutes.
At 150 degrees?
180.
180.
Okay, sorry, dessert again. Then it kind of I think it sets a scene again why she's having that battle in her head. You know, what her wants and her desires are, and the way she goes with Cordwell as well.
And I think having said that makes me realise too, it's not like they had it happening over and over and again during the story. If there'd been more than one guy who she'd been sleeping with, had a relationship with, or something along those lines, and it happened over and over, I think it would have really annoyed me. But you're right, it just served as a plot device to sort of show us a little bit about her early on, and that was it.
And to also help people who did, you know, perhaps wouldn't get it, that why she backed off of Caldwell, did I say it right? Caldwell. You know, why she didn't push it, why she, when she sobered up with, you know, the whole, at the beginning of the Rupert stuff, yeah, she just went, this is not in my, you know, my plan, so I've got to remember my plan. And you go, yeah, remember your plan, you know. Guys are distractions.
And I forgot it a bit later on, I felt like.
Yeah.
But
That's
I mean,
kind of cool.
I sort of was okay with that. She's still quite young, and I was like, that's kind of normal when you meet someone who's really ticking all your boxes. So
yeah. How old do you reckon she was?
She's under 30. I think she was around mid-20s.
Right.
That was the
'cause I was
impression I
thinking,
got.
yeah, okay, cool. I kind of thought she was more closer to 30, but no, that makes sense. Yeah.
I mean, she's old enough to be goal-driven and to know what she wants and everything, and you wouldn't question her on that. But at the same time, is still young enough that she may not have experienced a serious relationship, which really sort of maybe played with those goals a little bit and made her get distracted.
Yeah,
And
that makes sense. Yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
That's
the normal thing people go through and they have to get used to. So
I think
especially
she also
mid-20s.
didn't just get distracted by Rupert though. She also got distracted by this kind of mystery, and I don't think it was just about the relationship with him. It was also this aspect of her character where she was like, I can't let this shit go. I need to find out what this is about. And even though part of her knew that this is probably a bad idea, you should just put your head down and do as you're told and get your times on so that you can get into the, what was it called, Devastated?
Yeah.
the depth.
But she just couldn't. It was like, you know, something under her skin. She just couldn't give it up, and she needed to find out.
I felt like it was a little bit contradictory in how it was written, in that she was actually okay with not pursuing that side of things until the Rupert factor became really, really heavy for her, both emotionally but also as part of the mystery.
I don't know, because I think things got really weird at the same time as the Rupert stuff was going on. Like, I think when she looked at her camera and sort of realised that somebody had erased her camera, and after the fight with the big monster thing, that was when it really kicked into high gear, I think.
Yeah.
And she was like, right, something is going on here, and I can't just let it go.
Yeah. Which definitely was in conflict with her actual goals. But I think the thing is that we wouldn't identify and like her as much as we do if she was just purely goal-driven, because if that's all she was interested in, if she wasn't interested in what's good and what's right and what's going on, and I need to make sure I can help and protect people at the same time as doing my job, we wouldn't like her so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I also got the sense that part of the reason she got to where she is because she's curious, because she digs. Because if you just kind of follow the lay of the land, then you know, people who don't speak up or don't go out of their comfort zone don't get promoted. They don't get in people's at the front line. They don't get, you know, noticed. Because if, you know, it's people who kind of step outside the box, who challenge themselves, who try to work things out, who get themselves into people's confidences. That's how it works. So to me, it made complete sense. It's the reason she was the way she was and Cotter was the way he was. You know, So I think it totally matched with why she has gotten to where she is, and it's part of being ambitious is doing exactly that. You know, I've just been rewatching all the Mad Men stuff, and it's exactly part of the very, you know, like Pete Campbell is extremely ambitious, and he's extremely curious and nosy about everything, and it's true. You know, it's like it's in characters, you know.
That's true.
Over everything. It's a me
I
as
think-
well. I mean,
I think-
there's times I have to do it myself, and I go, you know what? It's not your business, or you know, you don't have to fight everybody else's fight. That was the big thing I always found. It was like feel like I have to fight everybody's fight for them. You know, people who don't have voices. But then it's kind of like, you know, just back off. So.
I agree, but I think the other side of that coin is also her willingness to take on a leadership role.
Mm.
Yep.
Yep.
So she was willing to make the call to do all those things, because that's one of the things you learn with in the forces and stuff, that if you want to get promoted, if you want to move ahead, it's not just about curiosity and that, it's also about you've got to be willing to make the call and not just to defer to someone else's choices or to find out what they think before you go ahead and do something. And she got it wrong sometimes, and sometimes she got it right. So
yeah, and that makes sense actually. If you think about when you have to make a call, you want as much information to help you make the correct call, because if you don't, then you don't know necessarily that you're. It makes complete sense actually. Yeah. And that's exactly what like leaders do. Good leaders do. They ask questions. They're trying to figure out all the different sides of it, and if not, trying to help their people think in a different way, approach things from different angles, and that's part of being curious and asking questions as a leader. Yeah, having all that info.
It always makes me think of the thing with Captain Kirk and how was it Captain Kirk or was it Riker? Oh, anyway, one of them from Star Trek, when they were doing the exam for at Star Trek, I think it's Kirk, yeah. The way he passed, he was doing the exam which nobody ever. He was doing the exam on the holodeck where you take on a leadership role, but there is no right answer, so you just have to be willing to make a choice, even though there's no right way to go about the situation. You're going to lose. There's no solution, so you just have to. And I believe what Kirk did was he hacked the system so he can win it. But
that's right. Yeah.
And I think the thing is though is that as much as that seems like, oh, how smart of you, Kirk, actually that's really bad when it comes to leadership, because you need to be able to accept that you are not going to get it right every time.
Yeah, and that's what Spock said, didn't he?
Yeah,
and I remember Spock saying that this is not a test of getting it right. This is a test of how you cope when you're wrong, or how you deal with pressure, and that was really key. And I think that I remember that bit in the movie too, because it just woke him up to kind of going, because he had that kind of approach the entire time, was I just need to get the answers, I need to get it right. He was driven, but he hadn't quite realised that side of things yet.
Yeah, and so for that reason he failed that more else had, while trying to win it better than anybody else ever had. I thought that
exactly.
I was just like, oh, that's so cool. Sorry, in my opinion, Kirk is not a good captain. John Picard all the way.
Yeah, no.
Picard is very good. Oh, do you know what's really weird? Sorry, just a little bit division this way. I've been watching Orange is the New Black, and Captain Jane Wayne is in it.
Oh, yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And she's
we
awesome.
just got Netflix. We could watch that now.
Yeah. Well,
it's like, oh, we could watch that.
That's the one reason I almost watched it, but I still haven't gotten there. I think I'm going to wait until it's got a few more seasons out and then sit down and really binge it.
Yeah.
I binged a lot, and I've got 2 episodes left, and then I got back into rewatching Mad Men. So yeah, but it's she's great. She's really good. She's such a great character.
She's an excellent actress. I mean, a lot of people make fun of Voyager and Janeway, but she is actually one of the best captains we ever had.
Hell yeah. So
I like Voyager. We had this discussion with somebody just the other day, and people were saying, "Oh, Voyager." No, it's just yeah. Well, Matt was like, "No, he doesn't like Voyager," and I'm like, "I like Voyager."
I do not like it.
And then another friend of ours was saying it's his favourite one. So
everybody likes it.
Everyone comes to it with different things. That's all good.
I just like the fact that she was a female captain without having to be lose her femininity or anything along those lines. And at the same time, they didn't let her in any way be, emotional or over emotional or anything. She still was just like any of the other captains. That it could have been a male in that role, and it wouldn't have been written any differently. So
yeah, I enjoyed it too, and I think also because when it came out again, I think she's a really great role model, because that's exactly how I never thought of her as being compromised in that, like, oh, we're going to put a woman in this role to make a point, and it never felt like that being a girl growing up.
No,
it just felt like it was a character and a good balance with the rest of the crew, etc., etc. So yeah,
that's one of those things that I felt like in the 90s we had a bit more of than we did in at least the first decade of the new century. I feel like we sort of took a step backwards with a lot of characters with females. Sorry, Kirsten.
I said we had 90s. We had Scully and
exactly.
So excited.
That's so cool.
Scully is badass.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to go back and watch all of X-Files before these new episodes come out, but at the same time I'm like, oh, so many episodes.
I know. They're long seasons.
Well, in my opinion, it jumped the shark. I kind of lost its way for me.
Were not great. Don't poke me. It's true.
No.
And but the first, I remember, I think I saw by accident with my brother. I was supposed to be studying. This is probably why I didn't do very well to begin with. I did much better once I got to university and could actually do the things I wanted to do. But yeah, I remember seeing the first episode, the pilot episode, and we were just captivated. It was like, this is like Ripley's Believe It or Not, but in a fictional sense. It was awesome. Oh, perfect.
Yeah, I should do a rewatch.
Yeah.
I did start doing a rewatch a couple of years back when I joined the Facebook fan club for X-Files, and we were doing like we do for
our live hangouts.
Our movie watch hangouts, and we talk on Skype. We were doing that for X-Files, and I think we got about.
So we got the idea.
I think we got about halfway through to season 2.
No, we were in season 3.
Where are we now? I don't think we got to season 3.
Anyway, not very far.
So yeah, it's like I know we definitely got to season 2, but yeah. I'm like, but then if I do a rewatch, do I start from wherever we were up to for that, or do I start from the very beginning again?
That first season is a good season, though. It's a really good season.
I know. That starts getting. I reckon that's where it starts getting really, really good. Is season 3.
Right. That's where they start having the elongated mysteries, so it starts stretching out. But that first season, there's these great one-off episodes. Oh, it's so good. Yeah, I'm going to have to. I wonder if it's on Netflix. Anyway.
No, it's not. I've looked already. It's not on Netflix.
Oh, bugger.
I'm sure it's on Netflix in America, but it's not on the Australian.
I haven't got it out here yet, yeah.
They may add more stuff.
They are.
Yeah, I haven't jumped on the Netflix. That's why I haven't jumped on top of Netflix yet. I'm like, you know what? I have a fear that they're not going to have the things that I want to watch right now, so I just don't think it's worth it. I'll wait until I build up the library a little bit more.
The first month is free, though. So we were just like, well, we'll sign up and see what it's like, and if we don't like it, we'll just...
It might stay free, and that means that it'll still be free when I do decide to join.
It's true. It's true, too.
Oh, yeah, and we've not watched any Doctor Who, and Doctor Who's all on Netflix, so it's like, we really need to watch Doctor Who.
Yeah. We've watched some interesting documentaries. There's some really good docos on there. They've got the whole, tonight we watched the 7 Wonders of the World, one of those ones. It's on there, and it's really good, because we watched the Brooklyn Bridge one, which was excellent, and we also watched the Hoover Dam, and we watched the
Hoover Dam one, yeah.
It's really good.
Have they got Cosmos on Cosmos? Oh, the one that they did with... Should they bring it back?
No, you're right. It's Cosmos, and I don't think it's on there.
I don't think it's on there.
That's one I've been wanting to watch, but they never... Well, if they brought it over here, I didn't know about it, so...
Yeah. No, I don't think it has been. But yeah, the 7 Wonders of the Industrial World is really good.
They're really good, yeah. So we watched the one on the Bell Lighthouse today, Bell Rock Lighthouse. That was interesting.
That's the one I haven't seen. I think I've seen all the others. Yeah. But that's one I haven't seen.
It's hilarious how far off topic we go.
I know. I'm sorry. Can I? Okay, I've got a point on topic. Unless Mel, you've got something you want to throw in the.
No. Please go ahead.
Okay, I want to talk about similarities and differences and influences to Firefly and Serenity.
Oh yes.
Right.
Oh
yes.
God, I was so like, this is a Firefly book.
Oh God, it was totally.
However, it was like I felt it was really influenced, but at the same time, it was so good that it stood on its own. Does that make sense? Like, it wasn't this kind of fan fiction, oh, I missed that world, I need to rewrite it, or anything like that. It just was like I don't know. It was like, because I was
similar enough
going,
that
well,
you-
this is.
Yeah.
Sorry, go Mel.
I was just going to say, it was just similar enough that you got a flavour of it in your mouth, but not enough for you to say, oh, it's just a rip-off of it or anything.
Yeah.
So,
I
you know,
felt like it didn't have like the one-liners and things along those lines, which I was very grateful for, because I think if it had had that element of it, I think it would have really felt like a rip-off with just those, you know, really smart, witty lines. I'm like, that's Joss Whedon. This is not Joss Whedon, and they don't even try, so that's good. But, you know, they killed Jane's character, so...
Yeah, I was like, okay, that guy's Jane. And there was like, who was the mechanic again? Wasn't there a female mechanic?
Yeah, Mabel, but she's not.
So there was a female mechanic. There was a weird chick that we didn't know what was up with her.
Yeah, Ren, who's like Summer Gau's character.
Firefly didn't have a dinosaur for a doctor. I kind of pictured him as a raptor. So like every time
Kaylee was kind of crush on.
What were they called again? High-Rec was a what?
The lizard guys?
What was the species?
High-Rec cow?
High-Rec was his name.
Oh, High-Rec was his name.
This cow.
Oh,
this cow. Yeah, that was.
cow.
I thought that was really funny though.
I enjoyed him and Basil a lot. I really enjoyed those guys.
Yeah.
Basil was, and I want more Basil time because he's actually so freaking funny. Because he's just so, you know.
Agreed. And I felt like a bit like they'd flipped some of the characters' roles around. So you had the basic personalities, but their role on the ship was a bit different. So they made the Fluky character, sorry, not Fluky, like Ren Fluky and Summer?
River.
Her character, Kaylee's character was more like her roommate in that she was all friendly and peaceful, but she was the navigator instead of being the mechanic and that sort of stuff. And then the mechanic was more of the down to business kind of chick, so she was a bit more like
Zoe.
Zoe,
yeah. But at the same time, they were also all of them a little less kooky too, because that's not the type of story they were trying to tell. So
well, less kooky, except one of them was a bird that had a nest.
Yeah, I love that. As soon as they introduced him,
I thought that was brilliant. I pictured him as like a little finch, but just big sized.
I actually pictured him like one of those long-legged birds from Africa.
Me too. I imagined him like that, like kind of like the storks who waders. But I imagined his body to be kind of like fluffy and yellow, like Big Bird.
Was he supposed to be yellow? Because I was picturing him blue.
No, I don't think he was. But you know me, I'm just like, you know, I just had it in my head because they were talking about his plumage on his head, and I was just like, I could just imagine, like, you know, like Kevin from Up. You know, he's got really, you know.
Kevin, very Kevin. That's kind of where I was Kevin, but maybe not quite so big. But the reason the plumage worked for me and I went straight to the African bird was there was this bird that I drew over and over and over again when I was in Year 12 art class for my final project, and it had this like red plumage on the front, like, on the top of its head, and so my head went straight to that bird, except for I put blue feathers on it instead of white.
What's the bird called?
Oh, I couldn't tell you. I could probably find a picture, but I couldn't tell you the name of it. If you give me a minute, I'll see if I can find one.
Yeah, so I had a kind of a combination of Kevin. Oh, I'm getting feedback from somebody. I don't know who.
Holy shit, Kirsten! You've gone through and done all your replies.
What? Yeah, I know. I just did it just then because I was looking on the calendar, going because when you guys said about the reading the others in this series, I was like, while I think of it, I should order those from the library. And then I was like, what's the next book I actually have to read? So I looked on the calendar and I was like, I haven't got anything on my calendar. Oh, I mustn't have replied to any of the things. So then I went and looked for them and went, oh, yeah, I'll go to that. I'll go to that.
Well, I
know what to get next.
And that's why I log in and I go, oh, I'm not sure anybody's actually coming tonight.
Yeah, I was a bit like, especially because, sometimes I'll reply maybe when I first get the thing because I'm like, I don't know if I'll have the book read by then. And then by the time I've read the book, I think, oh, yeah, I already replied to that.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure about next month's Vaginal Fantasy one at all.
Yeah. Oh no.
I'm not
I
sure.
haven't, I haven't watched the official hangout yet, but.
Look. It's huge.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
I just put a hold on it from the library just now. And
I'll give it a go.
See how I go.
It's a library book. It cost me nothing. I'll give it a go. But it's over 600 pages,
Oh.
and that's
okay.
Who chose it? Is it a choice or is it a club choice this week? No.
Oh, sorry. This is for Vaginal Fantasy.
Yeah. Is it one of the ladies' choices or is it club choice, like a voter choice this month?
Oh no, it must have been one of the ladies. But I think it was just Felicia. I don't think it was. They didn't sort of mention anybody particular. So I think this one. I think Fortune's Pawn was Veronica's pick.
It was excellent.
Yes, excellent pick, Veronica. But she's hated.
We do normally like Veronica's picks. So, yeah.
True. Yeah. Veronica has good taste, generally speaking. But yeah, this one here I think was Felicia's choice because there was no vote. And it's this one, and the second book is the alt book is Melanie Rawn, but I've read it like years ago when I was at uni and I hated it with a vengeance. So I ain't touching the thing.
Fair enough.
When they posted it up, they posted it up fairly early last month to say what was going to be this month's picks. And when they posted them up, they didn't say which was going to be the main or the alt, and I was like, no, don't make the Melanie Rawn the main.
Well, that'll give you a month off.
Yeah, well, that's true too. But I might take that anyway. So, yeah. I found the bird, but I just haven't found a full body picture, so I'm just seeing if I can find a full body one.
It's not. I thought it was going to be a traditional fantasy book, but it isn't. It's a more like a urban fantasy.
Yeah, it's no. Well, I'm not sure that it is because it switches into this other world pretty early on. I think so. She's taken into another world. So I think that it's kind of like. Have you guys ever read any manga where she starts off in the world, but then she gets sucked into this other world where it's sort of old, ancient style? Actually, I think Outlander.
Yeah, Outlander.
Yeah.
No, okay,
Except for
that
this
sounds cool.
But you know how I felt about Outlander.
Took me a while to get there. But yeah. All right. Oh, I need to start. I need to watch the next episode so bad. I don't know why. I hated Outlander, but I want to watch the TV show. Yeah.
Oh,
anyway,
I've heard it's better. I've heard it's better because I had a friend of mine saying.
I think it was more digestible.
Yeah, someone was watching it, and I can't remember who it was, and I just said, it's, the books, couldn't get into the book, hated everybody, but apparently the show's good.
Yeah. All right, guys, this is the kind of bird. It's only the head.
Yes, I love it. That's great. I love it. I love it. I love it. It's like one of those flowers.
That's cool.
Sorry I couldn't get a full-sized one, but that's what I drew. Like I used to draw this bird, and I did it in pastels and everything. So as soon as they said the crested thing, that's all I had in my head. For some reason I thought it was red, but that's definitely the right bird. So it's actually called a crested stork.
Well, there you go. Back to the Firefly / Serenity comparisons. This is where I kind of was like thinking about it, and then I had to actually highlight this. They were talking about the next jump to recount an asteroid field that was well inside the hunting grounds for Reaper's fleet, and I was like, Reapers! There's Reapers in this.
That's awesome. Yeah, you're right. There's so many things.
Yeah, but I could forgive it because it was so good.
Yeah. It was so good, and it's not the first book where I've had that feel from things too. Like, what was that one we read for Sword and Laser that was set in the asteroid belt?
The one they're making into a TV show.
Yeah, and the Expanse series, but I can't remember the name of the first book.
Leviathan Waits.
That's it, Leviathan Waits. It had a similar vibe as well.
Yeah, it definitely had a Firefly vibe too.
I've actually come to the conclusion that it's got more to do with our want to have that sort of thing, and that it's just normal when you've got a crew of people that you get some interesting characters, than it has to do with the author necessarily trying to get the vibe of Firefly. It's our want for it more than anything.
Yeah.
And to be fair, well, I don't know. This one definitely there was a lot of similarities, but at the same time, Joss Whedon's based this. He's based the ship of Firefly and the crew on ships and crews that have been around for ages. Fishing. You could have a fishing boat with people on it, and you're going to have a navigator. You're going to have a pilot. You're going to have an engineer. Those people are going to live on a fishing boat. Saying that, I've never watched, The Biggest Catch ever, so I might be lying. I don't know, but I'm guessing. You could have a series, and actually it could be really cool about a scientific survey ship that goes down to Antarctica, and you'd have, those kind of people on it. So all those type of crews. So it's probably, like you said, Mel, it's our want for it to kind of try and match things up, but this is probably, comes from a place of truth to begin with, even with, when Whedon was looking at it. So,
yeah, that's true.
Cool. Yeah.
I mean, you can even look at Star Trek and see that they've got that sort of thing there, just without the catchy liners and the quirky characters. The characters are less quirky.
Going back to Voyager, I think it had more of that sort of feel than any of the others because it had that more, because they were stuck out in the middle of nowhere. They had that more of a family vibe, which is what I think is what we're picking up on in these other stories. Is the tight knit group that are kind of all different kinds of people, but then they're all coming together and they're almost like a family. Maybe this book was not quite so much like a family as Firefly. The boss didn't have the charisma that Mal has. But I'm interested to find out a little bit more about him.
Yeah, he's going to be fascinating. I'd like to talk.
Yeah, it remains to be seen, doesn't it?
Yeah. Okay. Spoiler alert for anyone who's watching this either now or in the future. We're about to spoil some shit. So Courtswell at the end is basically telling Rupert to kill Devi, and it sounds like they've done this quite a few times, and like the fact that it's such a dangerous thing isn't necessarily because people get killed in the line of battle, but perhaps they just get killed by other crew members because they know too much. That was one of the things I kind of took away from it. Also, I don't know. It'll be
makes you like him a lot less when you know that.
Yeah.
I mean, not that I particularly liked him. I just didn't mind him.
Yeah, I kind of thought that there was an opportunity for her and him to kind of find a middle ground, because if she, I felt like she proved herself to be trustworthy with a lot of these things.
That's the thing that annoyed me. I was like, hasn't he gone, shit, she's the best mercenary I've had. She's shown herself to be trustworthy. Rather than killing her, can't we just bring her in on the shit that's going on? And
she knows too much. Well, she hasn't gone and told anybody else about it, so she's obviously trustworthy. And perhaps if she knows more, she can actually assist you better. It just didn't feel. Yeah, I mean, we'll find out more in the second one. Yeah.
Well, that's one of the main reasons I really disliked his choice. Like in the official hangout, they talked about how it was sort of a real abuse and all of those sorts of things. But personally, I didn't really think of all of that. I disliked it, but I didn't think of it all. Mostly what I really thought at the time was, why was there a lack of exploration of other options? That was all I thought at the time. They just did not even try anything else. And I just find it frustrating as a reader to know that I've got to start the next book with her not knowing anything again, so it's really frustrating.
Not just that, the thing that annoyed me was not just that they wiped her memory. They changed, they could have just wiped all the stuff about, him being the symbiote and all that. But why did they have to make her feel revolted every time she looked at him? It's like, God damn it, that was the part that really annoyed me.
Yeah. But see, my thought is that if they can do something so specific like that, you're right, why couldn't they just wipe the knowledge of what was happening rather than having to wipe,
I think the reason was because they thought if she still had feelings for him, obviously if they didn't change that and they didn't change the fact and make her not like him, then it would all just happen again, because she would get too close and he would get too close again. And
kind of like Eternal Sunshine of
Yeah, this is true.
I like it.
However, I think it could be a plot device. In that they'll use it to, because she's already like questioning it. She's like, why? I know nothing. Why am I? She's already questioning like that feeling,
So
which
she's
is
already going to start investigating that now.
Yeah, true. I think it's mostly frustrating to me just because as someone wanting to go on and read the second book, I don't like the character who I see the world through when it's presented that way. Like, it's a first-person book. So when you're doing a first-person book, you only should ever know as much as the first person. To now know that I know more than my first person, this is not good.
I think it'll be interesting to read, though.
I think it'll be frustrating.
Because we'll be reading things into stuff she sees that she won't be reading the same thing. I don't know, it'll be interesting. Matt, I was telling Matt that I thought he would really enjoy this book, and he was on the fence about reading it, and then he said, is it part of a series? And I said, yes. And he said, is it one where I could just read the first one and not need to read the rest? And I went, not really. Probably like, okay, I need to pick up the next one now. And he went, okay,
it's a really quick.
He did the Silo trilogy with us, though, didn't he?
Yeah. But I think, he's got a lot that he wants to read soon and kind of...
Yeah. And in all fairness, you guys have got a kid, it's hard to, balance everything out. And
yeah.
But yeah, it was like, I got to the end and was like, God damn it, there's the rest of it. Why do you have to end it like that?
Yeah, I know.
I was the same.
But I was sort of ready for it because I knew from the forums, like I hadn't really read anything on the forums, but I knew from what people had sort of been saying here and there that it had an ending which wasn't going to be something I could
satisfactory.
It wasn't going to be satisfactory. At the same time, I also don't think she ended it at a bad point. If she knew she had a trilogy in mind, this was a good spot to stop and start the next book. So.
Yeah, this is a tuna next time novel, And to be fair, it's such a quick read, like it went really quickly, that I'm not so annoyed about it. What I hate is when you get to the end of something and you really want to know what happens next, and it's been such a saga to get through it in the first place. Or
that's how I felt about the series read. We've run those stupid books, got to the freaking end of it, and I was like, I hated that book, but I still want to know what happens next, you bastards.
but in that case, it is actually written. It's not like some other people that we could speak of where we're all like going, what the fuck's going to happen? And you haven't even written the last book.
That's worse.
Yeah, we won't mention names or anything, but...
Yeah, we won't mention names, no, but...
Yeah. How do you guys feel about the memory wipe thing? Because I got the impression in the official hangout that everybody was really horrified by that, and I was kind of like... I mean, like you said, Mel, it's sort of going to be interesting for the next book and as it being a first person, and I was annoyed by the fact that she had that thing of revulsion for him, but I didn't see it as much as a violation as I think they did, and I think it's maybe because if I were to choose, like I know she didn't get the choice, but really, are you going to choose for them to wipe your memory, or are you going to choose for them to kill you? That was really the choice that Rupert had.
That's exactly right. And I think the thing is, too, from the way they were talking about, I didn't go look because I thought it was going to annoy me. But I had a feeling from the way they were saying it. It was one of those times when nobody really thought about it until somebody else brought it up, and then it became a big deal on the discussions. And so it wasn't so much that everybody was horrified. It's that when it was pointed out, people went, oh, yeah, it is. But what happens when someone pointed that out, everybody forgot about the fact that it was a choice between this and death. And I'm like,
well, and it wasn't even a choice for Rupert. Like, he was told, you need to kill her. And then the other guy went off and, okay, well, I trust you to kill her. See you later. Which I thought was stupid anyway. But then he was like, oh, no, I've got another way around this. So,
I wasn't so bothered by it, I guess, because I watched True Blood for a long time. There's a lot of memory wiping that happened in that. So I guess I was just kind of used to it. And I always, in True Blood, like there was this bit where it reminded me of the scene where Alex's character, whose name I've forgotten, Eric, he wipes the memory of Alcide, and he's normal as punch with Suki, and Suki's going, you're being really strange considering we slept together or nearly slept together, and he can't quite work out. And I think there might be a revulsion thing there, and Suki basically grabs his hand and reinstates his memory, and he's like, so for me, I feel there's like a glimmer that because of that kind of scene that Ren will be able to reinstate it, or that she has some kind of conscience, or kind of she's dulled the memory, but she hasn't killed it. I think that where I was more horrified wasn't by the actual memory right, but by this manipulation of these girls, Ren and the other one who was Eka or Enna.
Yeah.
They're the way they're being treated, the way Caldwell was treating Ren, the way that Rupert was even treating Ren to do it. I just like, that's what I found disturbing, is that this kind of this girl has obviously got some kind of really intense kind of Asperger's, or it's just that to me felt like a violation, and you saw it with Enna what was happening, and that's where I got really. So it was less about that and more about what are you doing to the psyche of this poor girl? No wonder she's so cracked up. If this is the kind of stuff that you're making her, you make it, because that's what they're doing. They're essentially making her do this kind of stuff. So that I found. And then maybe it's again that serenity thing because of what whoever, I can't remember who was making what River used to have to go through and how she reacted to the whole thing. So yeah, I just found it all. That's what disturbed me more, was less about the actual act and more about the poor person who's actually been paid to do it. That's where I got. So I haven't watched the official Hangout yet, so I'll be interested to watch that bit and whether they talk about that at all, because that's what I found disturbing.
No, it wasn't really. I don't think it was really brought up, and you make a very good point, because that was really. It was pretty much, if you're going to say something was abuse, it was more that she was being abused than
that's exactly how I felt. I felt like she was being abused. Yeah, that's exactly how I felt. And we'd just seen that scene with the other guy in whose name I've forgotten, in Enna, and he had obviously been emotionally abusing her for years, if not physically abusing her because she was so thin. I just found it kind of like, and that was my thing. I was like going, really, how are you, Rupert and Caldwell, how are you better than that other guy? This is the stuff you're making her do.
Yeah. My thing is, I agree, I had thoughts sort of along those lines, but I also felt like I'd sort of reserved judgment to find out more, because I don't feel like we know Ren's position at all. I don't know if she's made any choices about this, and all we know at this point in time, our assumption would be that she has no awareness, but that isn't necessarily true. No. Someone who has that circumstance of insular, not necessarily paying attention to others, or what it seems to be like that, doesn't necessarily mean that they're not actually aware of their choices and what they're doing. No. So I'm sort of reserving judgment on that situation, but I agree, I was with you on thinking this is not good what's going on with these girls.
Yeah. And I think it was along the lines, and I'll be excited to see if this becomes that grey area that Debbie brings up to sort of point out, because I think she did do something along those lines of, the guy who was actually tortured, who tried to hold her was like, Caldwell isn't any better than me, or there was part of that, and it's like that's there is a good point there, and I'm all about the grey areas and the storylines, that there's like not necessarily good and evil, that there's everybody's out for what they want to get and they find their different ways of doing it. So I'll be really excited if that's what is explored, and good for the author if that's exactly what if that's where she's going, is to kind of say, it's the same thing just done under a different banner, as it were.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where that whole plot line goes, because I think it's like Ren can see the creatures that Debbie started being able to see. And I'm wondering where the link for that is. What actually happened to her on that ship that now she can see these creatures?
And what were those creatures?
And what were they? Why could she see them now and she couldn't before? And why did Ren? Because Ren kind of looked at her when she realised that she could see them, didn't she? And sort of went. Yeah.
She smiled
at her, didn't she?
Yeah. She smiled.
Well, so I kind of assumed it was going to be something tied to what the stuff that her roommate was into.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Which was like the fourth almost, wasn't it?
That sort of thing going on in some way. But I had no real idea. I was just sort of making assumptions. So this is the problem with doing this hangout without having done the rest of the series. We actually know so very little.
It's exciting. I
But
like
that's
that.
actually interesting. I liked that when we read Wool and we were like making our theories and blah blah blah, and none of us have read it, so none of us are sitting there going, ha ha ha, well I know what's that, you know.
But wasn't
So
that the
it
problem
actually
with
makes
Wool?
it interesting to talk about it without any of us knowing how it's going to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought that was the problem we had with the Silo trilogies. We read all of them or something, and I was dying to talk to somebody. Was it that one? Yeah, because on Mistborn we did the book by book.
read them.
God.
I thought we talked
No,
after each one.
No. We talked after the first one, but we did a Sword and Laser one at that point, and the majority of Land Down Under hadn't read it then. And so we did another hangout
Sorry.
where we did all 3 books, and we went through each book through. So it was like a 3-hour. I think it still holds the record as our longest hangout.
There were a lot of things to talk about.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I,
that
was
makes
just,
sense.
and I remember that one, and I was like, I couldn't, I was finding it so hard, because those are the books, those are 5-star books for me, those are books that I push down people's throats. I'm like, you need to read the series. Have you read the series? Can we talk about the series?
Yeah.
But I was dying to talk to somebody the whole time about it, and it was really hard because often I'd meet people and they'd read all of it and they go, oh, I can't really talk to you until you've read the last one. Which was what was so good about Mistborn, is that we could actually talk about our theories. So I love talking about theories and stuff like this. You know.
Yeah, I think maybe that's what was missing with the Undivided. None of us were like, oh, what do you think's going to happen with this? And what do you think's going to happen with that? We were like, actually.
Hopefully they'll all die. I don't know.
I actually have hope that it'll pick up. Like, the reason I voted for it is because I've read 2 other series by the same author that I really enjoyed. And like I talked about in that hangout, I think they were not as YA as this sort of seems. But I'm kind of still holding out hope that it'll get more interesting as it goes. But
to be fair, I actually do agree that I don't think it is YA. It just feels that way because the teenagers are so teenagery.
Yeah, we'll see.
The best way I can think of to describe it. But there's too many other adult things going on, I think, to really consider it YA. It's just that it has as its main protagonist very teenagers from our world. So they're very teenagery. You know, like you can read novels which has a teenager as a protagonist, but still isn't YA when it's in a different world because they're considered grown-ups in that world and things along those lines. But
I don't know, though. Poison Study was considered YA.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Poison Study.
I don't think the content of it, even though it had a teenager as a main character and it was set in another world, but some of the shit that happened in that book, I would not let a teenager read it. Like
I think a teenager would be fine. I think a teenager would be fine reading it.
I suppose it depends on which, you know.
I think it depends on
teenagers are a very broad group.
Yeah,
I don't think I'd let a 13-year-old read it.
So
and I read The Colour Purple when I was a teenager, and that's pretty freaking full on. So
I read a lot of bad stuff, but there was some rape scenes in that book that were very bad.
The thing is that when I say teenager, I'm usually referring to, on average, a 15-year-old. But the thing is that every teenager is a little bit different. Some will never ever get past reading the happy stories and the world is good and things along those lines. Yeah. And I started reading like books with sex in them when I was about 13.
Yeah, I discovered romance books when I was 13.
Yeah,
I was reading those Virginia Andrews things, and there were some pretty bloody bad rape things in those too.
I was going to say Flowers in the Attic, everything. It's just like,
My Sweet Audrina is worse. Have you guys read that? Did you read that when you were in high school?
I read Virginia.
Which one?
My Sweet Audrina.
No, I've never read any Virginia Andrews actually.
And it's like it's about this girl who's raped when she's a young girl, and her parents give her electroshock therapy to make her forget it, and then tell her that this happened to her older sister whose name was also Audrina, and then they keep this older sister's room as a shrine with all her toys in it and give her this smaller room and tell her how she's not as good as her older sister, and her older sister was perfect and beautiful and she's not living up to her. And it's like, her older sister was her. I mean, spoiler. I mean, I don't think you're probably ever going to go back and read Virginia Andrews.
But, well,
That's like horrific, really, when you think about it. Like, I read that when I was about 13, so I suppose, you know.
I was the same, but I read Flowers in the Attic, where the girl is raped by her father and gets into a relationship with her brother.
Yeah.
I was just like, so yeah.
They're all like that.
The thing is, what we would like teenagers to be reading and what teenagers are actually reading is a whole different thing.
Yeah.
And
I
that's
suppose that now I think of it as, you know, children I'm teaching and my own children and going,
Exactly.
oh God, no, you wouldn't be reading this.
Yeah, it's exactly.
No.
They probably will.
But that's when exactly when those kind of things happen, is when you're a teenager, because it's sort of, you are wanting to be shocked. I mean, I remember when I was in that kind of that tween time, you know, sort of 11, 12, 13, and I would watch so many horror films because I wanted to be shocked. I wanted to be scared, you know. And then I kind of got over that and went on to something else, you know. So I still say probably one of the scariest one was Poltergeist by Steven Spielberg.
Oh yeah. I'm not a fan of scary movies, but
I'm not anymore. I don't do it to myself. I think I did, you know, just too much of it. And actually, I remember getting Chucky, because everyone was talking about Chucky. Chucky was actually funny, because I kept going, you know, it was like, it wasn't, the thing about Chucky was it wasn't a doll that kind of had this, you knew that it had been possessed by this person, so, and the person was really just a bit of a shithead, so you kind of, I just never kind of equated it that way. It's where you don't know what's inhabiting the doll. Like the clown from Poltergeist, I don't know if you guys said that. Just,
no,
yeah,
that, oh yeah, no, I thought I was thinking of it, but no, that's...
Oh, well, clowns in general are scary. Clowns, there's nothing scarier than clowns. Clowns are scary. I don't know who ever thought that.
It's so weird. The thing that scared the shit out of me in Poltergeist more than anything was when all the chairs were on top of the table. And
that's one of the best scenes. And from a directing and producing point of view, I'm like, how the hell did they do that?
And all the chairs are up there, and I'm like,
oh my God, I can't watch this movie. I know. But you know why it's so good? It's so, that is, I watched it a couple of times, and it still holds up because there's no, it's obvious they've done it. I don't know how they've done it, but there's no, it's an in-camera trick of the camera. Like, there's no cut. It's so well done. And you just go, how the hell did the production, that to me, because I'm always interested from, you know, directing and producing, I go, how did they do that? How did they, one moment it was fine, you go over, next moment you come back, and the chairs, I'm like, how the hell did they do that? How did the production staff pull that in and out so fast? It's really impressive. Yeah. Anyway, and that's what I kind of think is lacking so much in scary movies today. You know,
I don't like being scared.
I don't want to watch them. Anyway, I did. What did you guys think of? Back to Fortune's Porn. The name was weird. Someone explain it to me.
I think the idea was that she's, you know, I don't know. I think it was a bit out of sync with the book itself, because to me she was really she was making a lot of decisions, and she wasn't just sort of swept away in things, really. Like, there were a lot of times where she could have decided to let this go and ignore it. She could have decided to walk away from him. She could have decided to just delete the footage on her camera and never investigate it anymore. She was making choices the whole way through. Like, I didn't feel like, whereas the title makes it sound like she was just a pawn, she was just swept away in this thing. I don't know. I suppose in some ways she is, but...
I don't agree with that. I think that she was making a lot of decisions, yes, but at the same time, I don't think her relationship with Rupert necessarily drove a lot of the decisions. I think that she was being almost manipulated into doing a lot of the stuff, whether deliberately or not deliberately. But what's the captain's name again?
Carswell.
Carswell, thank you. By Carswell. Like, when she went onto that ship to go and investigate, he was like, you know, for every hour you're there, I'll pay you this huge amount of money. It's like, well, she's a merchant. What the hell is she going to do? Of course she's going to take that.
Maybe that's what the Fortunes part is about. It's about her being a mercenary.
Yeah, but I do think that a lot of the situations where she was involved with what was going on was to do with her being on that ship, not to do with necessarily her relationship with Rupert. The only part that really I felt like was part of the Rupert part was the end where they took her memory away. I think that pretty much everything else would have still happened the way it did, regardless of their relationship.
Yeah, and absolutely, and I guess what was the ship called? Something Full, the Glorious Full.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I thought if she'd used a play on words for the title with something with full or glorious in it, that would have been quite, more interesting. Because I think it's such an interesting name for the ship in the first place, the Glorious Fool. It's like it already was like its own curse and warning if you're foolish to get on the ship. I thought that was really clever.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be to do with the titles of the future books and in her changing her role in terms of what's going on. Because it's all. So the next one's Honour's Knight and the third one's Heaven's Queen. So they're all chess pieces and with different roles that they play. So I think that it's got to do with her role. In the first one, she doesn't have a key role. She's just a pawn that gets chucked out there in front to be destroyed. Whereas in the second one, I think she's going to start having...
Yeah, actually, I like that, Mel, because she's like, pawns are like the first line of defense, and that's exactly what she is in this. She's the first line of defense. Yeah, no, that's good. I like that. Rather than what we're talking about being a pawn, as far as being shifted and moved around, and you don't have any say.
And not having control. Yeah.
Yeah, if we just say actually she's the first line of defense, then that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what's the next one? Honour's Knight, and the last one something Queen.
Heaven's Queen.
Heaven's Queen, cool. Okay, I like that. Okay, I'm less inclined to not like the title now. I'm feeling the title a little bit.
So I ordered the next two books on interlibrary loan from the same library, so from the Geelong library system, because I thought, I'll just get them from the same ones. That way, when they post them, it costs the same amount of money, right?
Yeah, yeah.
They're sending me Heaven's Queen, but they haven't sent me the second frickin' book.
But they don't know.
It's right there on the system. And
they don't know.
No, I know. It's just really frustrating because I think what's going to happen is it's going to turn up, and so I'm in the situation of whether I return it and try again after the second book comes, or do I risk it? Because when you borrow interlibrary loan, you get them for 5 weeks.
Right, so you got to see if you hang on to it. They are fast reads. I mean, you can do them like 3-4 days. Like
that's what I'm thinking.
I mean, you're a faster reader than me, yeah. What do you think of? Is Kirsten back here? Here she comes. Okay, I can ask her when she comes back too.
Yeah.
Oh, is she back? Yeah, are you back online? Cool.
Sorry about that. I had to take a toilet break.
No, unforgivable. That's all that wine you're drinking. Let's talk about the lizards. One about the doctor who was quite cool. I quite liked him, and also the zombie ship. Like, and now she's got the black finger. She can, make things.
yeah, that's really interesting.
But she got bit, and I was like, and there was anything happening, and they said she smells like rotted meat, and I was like, and then she killed that other person with her black fingers, and I was like, oh, maybe she's turning it. And my thing was, is that person going to come back as a zombie? I thought that at that time when she killed that shit. I was like, is she going to come back like the lizards did? But it didn't happen, so.
I'm not sure what's going to happen there. It's all very curious. Was it a virus? What was it? Is it something else to do with this more mythical force type thing that they've got going on?
Yeah. Yeah, but I thought the lizards were kind of cool. Like, as far as they choose the gender, that they don't have the ability to form speech, like Basil's race does. So I actually think that was a really great device in that Harriet had to type everything and show everything, and yet within it you just got such sense of his of his sarcasm and his tongue in cheek, and it was just, you got a really, even though he never says anything, it's all written. I just thought that was quite funny.
There was one part where it said, and he'd underlined something 3 times or something. I can't remember what the line was, but it was like.
Yeah. But one thing with the gender, I actually thought they were quite rude in the hangout, because they were. Sorry, I know you haven't seen it, Sarah, but in the hangout they were going on about the fact that it was rude that she was calling him it. Sorry, I shouldn't say him even then. Even though
he said
he requested to be
he
called
chose that he wanted to be called he.
And that's why I found what they said rude, because in our society, when you are trans or non-gender or whatever it is, it's not about what you are, it's about what you ask to be called, because some people like to be called thee, and some people like to be called he, and some people like to be called they, and there's all different ones, so it's all just what you asked to be called. So I was like, dudes, have you missed entirely the point of the fact that that's what it asked to be called?
Yeah, Hyrick asked to be called he. You know, it's just easier in the society that you're in.
Yeah, I liked that.
He worked for me, and I was like,
it doesn't make a difference to me, but you know, you get more respect if you say he. So I'm going to say he.
Yeah. Fair enough, you know. So, I mean, I thought that was the bit where Hyrick was actually going to say, yes, actually, I'm female. But when he went through the whole thing of why he hadn't chosen a gender and the ramifications of that was really interesting. So, and that he kind of didn't fit into society.
Yeah, it made so much more sense about why he was there on the ship too.
Yeah. So I thought it was kind of cool. And I liked him. I thought he was a great character. I thought. It felt to me, I don't know how others felt, I felt like he and Debbie were really starting to have a great friendship, you know, if you could call it a friendship. Like they kind of had a few quips, like that's the bit, the sort of the Serenity kind of bit that was coming through was those kind of the interaction between those two, you know, and that she was kind of making jokes, and he knew they were jokes, you know. There was a really nice interplay going on there, or he would make a joke and she was starting to read the facial features not as being threatening, but as in, you know, he's being tongue-in-cheek or, you know, sarcastic or whatnot. Oh, that's a good husband pouring you some wine there. So I like their relationship, and that's something I'd like to see develop further, and whether because I also think that's someone that she can probably trust to divulge to. That's how I felt that the author was developing the relationship with Hyrick, was even though that's actually, if you think about it, it's a perfect kind of thing. A race of people she doesn't trust at all, who eat human beings, you know, she hates them, she loves killing them, and yet it felt like this was the relationship that was being built up as the one she could trust, even more than the Rupert, because obviously Rupert decided to wipe her mind and everything, and there's going to be some issues there, that this is the one person she can really trust and talk to and actually be honest with what she was seeing, and, you know, because
he was like, you're going crazy, and she decided not to say anything to him anymore about what she was seeing.
Yeah.
But in fairness, he was right in the way that he said, look, let's just run some tests, see what's going on, you know, I'm not gonna, you know, I thought it kind of handled it really well.
He was kind of pissed off at her at the time, because he was like, why have you given yourself this cocktail of drugs that you know are bad? And
well, he's a medical professional, they're going to do that.
yeah, exactly. I could imagine, like, if that were, you know, the equivalent in today's society, and you went to your GP and said, oh, I took all this stuff so that I could keep going or whatever.
Yeah.
It'd be like going to your GP, I suppose, and saying that you took steroids so that you could enhance your performance, and your GP would react probably in a similar way.
Yeah, well, exactly. You know, you're an idiot, and the fact, you know, like the bone knitting stuff is like, you're not invincible. You're going to feel this, you know. It's like that whole thing of, you know, telling people to cut down on their booze and their cigarettes, or, you know, trying to tell someone who's, you know, pre-diabetic to not eat. You know, it's like there's a lot. Oh, see, we all had lovely people bringing us lovely things. I had my dessert. You had your wine. Melvin brought something.
It's been taken away. It stank. It turned out bad.
Oh no! What was it?
We tried to make bread and butter pudding, and not pleasant.
It was a bit eggy, was it?
overly eggy, way eggy, and it was because I'm in a closed room. It was just the smell was getting to me, so I messaged him.
Yeah, I've actually been ill on bread and butter pudding. I have, and it took me years to. My mum made it for me when she was over last October. She's like, "I'll make a bread and butter pudding." I'm like, "Oh, I don't know." I threw that up last time. When was that? It was like 1998.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she put
It's put you off things for a while.
And berries in it this time, and it helped.
Well, that's the last one I made was a white chocolate and raspberry bread and butter pudding, and it was pretty damn good.
Yeah, well, that's what. Yeah, Mum made one with she made a dark chocolate and raspberry one, and it was very good. But yeah.
Oh, and the one I made used waffles instead of bread.
Get out! That
Yeah.
sounds great.
Yeah.
That sounds good. No,
And
well,
just the waffles all crunchy on the top, and yeah, it was good.
That does sound good.
no. Well, this one definitely didn't work, but we also had gone and found a recipe which didn't have cream in it. A, because we didn't want to use cream, but B, because we didn't have cream. Apparently custard don't work so well without the cream.
Yeah.
That's right. You bought me a Baileys instead to take the taste out of my mouth.
Oh, good night.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so I like the lizard people, and the now how do you say it? Legis?
Oh, lettuce? I think I said
You know, the floating tentacle balloon thing.
yeah. Obviously, this mystery's got something to do with them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or at least they know about it anyway.
Yeah.
Lelgis. Lelgis.
Well,
Yeah.
Lelgis? Did I get it right? Yeah.
That may not be how she was pronounced, though.
Actually,
yeah,
I read her interview at the end. She doesn't care. She just doesn't care how people pronounce her stuff. She said each to their own. She said she thinks it's Devi, like we're pronouncing it, but then she has a friend who's like that, who's Devi. So she's like, you pronounce things how you want to pronounce it. She really doesn't care. So it was nice.
That's how I feel about books, right? I'm like, why does it matter so much as long as people know who you're talking about? You wrote the words. You made up the words. Who knows what root it came from that causes the words to be said this way? Because it's a mythical freaking world.
until they make a TV show or a movie about it, and they start saying things in a completely different way to how you said it in your head, and then you have trouble dealing with that.
Yeah.
Like, and I've been saying it this way for ages. Now I can't stop myself. Something in Lord of the Rings I say wrong, and I can't. Oh, because I say Theoden instead of Theoden. Because when I read Lord of the Rings, I always read it as Theoden, and it's actually Theoden.
See,
I can't do it that way. I'm sorry, it's in my brain the way I read it.
That's just the difference between an accent, though, and then it's like freaking, I married an Irishman, and the amount, trying to get Irish names. This is, probably why I couldn't stand the whole freaking book that we were trying to read. It's just like, there's like extra vowels in there that you can't pronounce unless you can roll your R's. Yeah. I'm like, I'm from New Zealand, but I ain't from Dunedin, so I can't do that.
Yeah.
So,
I had the same problem with Sirius Black, interestingly enough. And when the third movie came out and we had Sirius Black, I was like, oh, I haven't been saying it that way at all.
How did you say it?
I honestly cannot remember it. We're talking like 10 more years ago since the movie came out, and I have been forced to change the pronunciation. I can't remember. I cannot remember. In all honesty, I do not know what I did, but I know I didn't do it that way, and I know that I thought I was absolutely right because I'd actually had a debate with someone before the movie came out. So I was dead set that I was right, and that everybody else, well, not everybody else, I only really knew one person who'd read the books, but yeah, and then the movie came out, I was like, oh, shit.
Well, I read the Babysitter's Club books, and I know her name's Christy, but she's always Kirsty in my head.
I never got that confused.
I know, but it wasn't that. I was just like, she just didn't seem like a Christy. She seemed like a Kirsty. I could never, and it was Claudia, and it could have been Claudia. You could have said Claudia quite happily,
Yeah.
So,
but
yeah.
I know exactly. I'm having that problem in real life because Kirsten here. Last year I made a new friend and her name's Kristen. And every time I say one of your names now, I have to stop and think because I say it wrong. And it is awful. I cannot I can't get to a natural point with it in my head. And so every time I have to picture it before I say it, because otherwise I will absolutely do the wrong one.
I'm so used to it. And I'll get ones where like I'm emailing someone and it'll be, you know, someone I don't really know, like say I'm booking something online or whatever. And I'll write them an email and sign it Kirsten, and they'll reply Kristen, and I'll sign it Kirsten again, and they'll reply it Kristen. And it's like, it's typed. You can see it in front of you. How is it that hard? But, you know, I just go, whatever. And then once I was in the waiting room to the doctors, and they said, Kristen, and I thought, oh, they mean me. And I got up, and they were like, no, not you. Someone else, and now it was Kristen. But I was just so used to people getting it wrong and saying Kristen that I just thought, oh, they mean me. They've read it wrong off the thing.
I've accepted that I'm to be called Mel from now on. Like, that's why I use Mel online all the time as well. For some reason or other, the name Melanie does not stick in people's heads. If it was Melissa, they'd be okay. I don't know about Melinda, but for some reason, Melanie just doesn't stick in people's heads. So I stopped fighting it years ago, and I just go by Mel until people get to know me better.
Yeah, I suppose people go, I know it started with Mel. Was it? Yeah.
The other thing, too, is that my job is that I go into new circumstances all the time. I get a new class every week or so. And so it's just constantly people learning my name. I haven't got time to learn their names, unfortunately. I'm like, I see you for an hour and a half and then I'll never see you again. I'm sorry, I haven't bothered.
Yeah, I'm useless at remembering names. Really bad.
Yeah. Well, that's the other problem is I'm terrible at it. But, like, when I'm introduced to people, they're like, oh, this is Melanie Eggins. And you're like, yeah, don't do that. They won't remember. Just call me Mel.
Otherwise, then you know, like I know a lot of people called Mel, and I have to think about it to remember what the Mel is actually short for in all these different people, because I know a couple of Mels that are Melissas.
Oh, yep.
When I look, that's why I'm perfectly fine. Like nobody ever offends me by just using Mel. Just use Mel, I'm all good. The only problem is that my workplace, we're actually a very small group. And the guy who does systems for schools, so he goes into schools and he does all the server work and everything, his name is Mel.
His name's Mel as well?
His name's Mel as well, for Melvin.
Oh, yeah.
And, it's really hard because we both are, basically we get contracted to go into work, and so someone will be saying, oh, Mel this, Mel that, and then you're like, are you actually talking about me or are you talking about somebody else? But luckily we're very different people. He's a big black American dude, so you can tell who's who very clearly. As long as
Gotcha. Yeah.
But so now I'm at this weird circumstance where when I go in and I do a presentation, I always go by Mel because the general teachers never meet Mel, the service guy. But when I'm talking to schools at the top level, I have to go by Kick.
Yeah.
It's so much fun.
Yeah, see, I quite like Mel for a guy because I always think of Alice Smith and Jones. Is it Mel Smith? I always think of him, and he's, but Melvin just makes me think of the depressed android from
yes,
from Hitchhikers. So I can't blame your Melvin for wanting to be called Mel. I'm like, yeah.
Well, it makes me think of in the X-Files, the lone gunman in the X-Files.
Yeah.
The 3 conspiracy theorist guys that Mulder goes and talks
to. Oh, yes, yeah.
The short guy, Frohickey, his first name is Melvin.
See,
and that's the first thing I thought of.
That's why I never fought Mel for being Mel and him being Melvin, because I was like, dude, I do not blame you for not wanting to be going by that name, and I quite like it. So I'm all
yeah. Very cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, blah, blah, blah.
I'm trying to think of a slang term in a movie. Isn't it like in Clueless or something? I'm trying to think. No. I'm sure I have this vague memory of someone saying, oh, that person's a Melvin. I don't know whether it was.
I feel like it was something else, but it was a Vin at the end.
It's that vague that I can't place it, but I've got this memory of that, like it being used as an adjective.
Well, no, Melvin is her dad, Mel Horowitz.
Well, it's
I
not
think.
that then.
Yeah, so it's not. So her dad's called Melvin, or he's called Mel Horowitz.
What about?
There's Betty's. I remember them.
There's a Monet.
I'll be back in a sec. I'll toilet break for Sarah.
I used to have like a sheet when Clueless came out that had all of the terms on it. It was brilliant.
Yeah.
Wig, whatever, toe up, TB, True
If
Blue.
you look up Melvin on Urban Dictionary, it says a nerd who does weird and random things for no reason.
I haven't found it on any list that I've found so far for Clueless, but that doesn't mean it's not necessarily a term. They may not have used it in Clueless, though. Anyway.
See, come up with these things that we've got from nowhere, and I don't know.
Hey,
where I got
Clueless
from.
had a massive cultural influence. It was huge. That's strange. Look, I made many of the squares.
I'm going to be sorry that I even thought of that now, because I'm like, where have I heard that? What am I thinking of?
It probably it
Could be
very
something
well
I've completely made up.
I think the problem with probably current Clueless lists is they probably leave off things which are considered well-known vernacular, and so Melvin to me makes perfect sense. So perhaps it's considered known, and they don't need to put it in current lists.
I've found it in a few places in the context I was talking about, like saying these computer guys are total Melvins. He's a Melvin. That person's a Melvin.
Maybe it comes from the Lone Gunmen.
No, it doesn't. I would
Yeah.
know that. I would remember that.
Well, if for no other reason that I didn't even know they had names.
Yeah, I know a little bit too much about the X-Files, unfortunately. I could probably tell you a lot of things.
Oh, well.
Not about the last couple of seasons, because I only saw them once, whereas the early seasons I saw countless times.
Well, that's the way it goes, right? We're at the, we've just been talking. I never actually finished watching Voyager when it was originally on because I was in Japan, and I've never had an opportunity to since. Noah and I started working through it a few years ago, but we stopped around about somewhere in season 6, and just because we got distracted and we haven't been back, and so we've been talking about going back, and we're like, do we start again, or we just try and figure out what we're up to?
Yeah.
I think we need to go to whereabouts I think we're up to, because I don't think we may never do it again. So
Well, that's the worry. That's the worry, that you'll get back to the same point again and then miss the rest of it.
because I do feel like that's what happened, was that it had sort of lost a little bit of direction with the story, and it needed that final season to sort of round everything off, and you're sort of waiting for it to happen, but it's not there yet. So I feel like that's why maybe we sort of got distracted, was because the storyline wasn't as good.
You're
right,
talking
Sarah?
about whether when you start a rewatch of something and you get partway through, whether you should start from the partway mark or whether you should restart the whole thing.
Depends when you stopped. How long ago did you stop?
I stopped probably about 3 years ago, and it was Voyager. I think we were in season 6 partway, so
So it's quite
That's a lot to
do.
rewatch.
That's a lot to rewatch, yeah.
And not only that, I think that one of the reasons we probably got distracted and stopped was because the plot line, I think, was sort of floundering a bit before it got into the final season to round off all the story points.
I'd probably restart the season you were partway through.
So restart season 6.
That's what I reckon. So,
Yeah.
you know, remind yourself, because usually each season has got kind of a thing going on.
Yes.
So if you restarted that season, it'd refresh your memory about all the important things you had to remember. But you're not rewatching the entire series, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's probably the best thing to do. The only problem is I find the 7 and 9 stuff gets a bit long. It all becomes about 7 out of 9 after a bit.
I didn't mind 7 and 9, so maybe that doesn't worry me as much.
Don't get me wrong, I don't mind 7 and 9 as a character. I just felt like it was almost every episode was about 7 and 9, and I was like, that's not what Voyager will start. So
there was a lot of Borg stuff in general, really.
Yeah. Well, that's true too, yeah. I think the Borgs were involved with the final too, so...
Yeah, vaguely remember. It wasn't that long ago, but, you know, you might...
Star Trek's just so long and broad.
I'm not very good at remembering things in general that I've seen if it's more than a while ago. If I've read it, I remember it a lot clearer. If it's a TV show, I find it a lot harder to remember. Like even the X-Files, which I am a huge fan of, the last couple of seasons are very blurry in my memory because I only watched them once, and you know it was when things were starting to get really convoluted, and I'm just like, oh, I have a vague memory of those. But whereas you know, there's other earlier episodes I could probably recite the whole episode for you from scratch, but.
I think it also has to do with the length of how long the show ran for. Like Battlestar Galactica, I can remember pretty much the main point of most seasons, or pretty much all the seasons, because there's only 4 of them. Whereas like with Star Trek and X-Files and that, there was 7 plus series. So, you know, that's a lot of information.
And they blur together too, especially Star Trek. Like, I'm always like, which one was that again? And not only that, like, I think my least favourite is Deep Space Nine, and I think I know Matt gets angry because he loves Deep Space Nine.
I love it.
I think half my problem is that
high five.
Mel, give me a high five.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Half my problem with Deep Space Nine is that Matt made me watch Babylon 5 like straight after Deep Space Nine or straight before. I can't remember.
They're not even the same show.
They are totally the same show in my head. I'm like, I can't. Which one was that? Was that on Deep Space Nine? Or was that on Babylon 5? Because they're both space stations, and there was both weird God-like religious shit going on in them. So I think that was the thing that bothered me the most about Deep Space Nine was all there's gods in the wormhole bullshit, and I just yeah, well, you know, it was too serious for me.
I will give you the fact that the premise of those 2 stories are actually linked because the start of them came from the same creator. So
are we talking?
I'm not crazy for thinking they're confusing about which one was which.
No, you are not crazy in that respect. I totally agree with you on that, but I personally think Deep Space Nine was considerably better.
Oh yeah, I would agree with that too.
Where did Matt make you watch? Did he make you? Did you start from the miniseries or did you start from season 1, episode 1?
Of Babylon 5.
No, no, Babylon 5. Shit, sorry, I'm getting confused with Battlestar Galactica.
Oh, yeah.
No, I haven't finished watching Battlestar Galactica. I've only watched season 1.
Really? Oh my God, you've got so much good stuff to go.
Yeah, and then it gets kind of weird and jumps the shark for a while.
Yeah. It's nice.
Again, I found it. I'm not huge with the real serious stuff. And I do intend to watch the rest of it.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about now. In fact, wasn't there that great blooper where there's this really good blooper from Babylon 5 where one of the guys is talking about, he's asking where a particular crew member is, and the guy actually answers honestly as a like a crew member from the station. He goes, oh, so where is Inspector Waller? He says, well, actually, he's on Deep Space Nine because there was a casting conflict, and it's it's really funny because it's true. That's exactly where he was. That's why he couldn't be in those episodes because there was a casting conflict. So he's off doing Jason 9. He'll be back on board next week.
Yeah.
So you're completely right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think watching them together, like back to back or really close together, it was like,
Yeah.
which
that-
one was
And
it?
their production values were very similar, so I totally understand that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did I ever tell you the story? We're completely off topic, but did I guys ever tell you the story about my friend Erin who got home to her answering machine, and this is back in the days of answering machines. Remember that? This is back in the 90s. And she was waiting with a mutual friend of ours, Scott, and she presses the thing. She presses play. She's in a message, and the message goes, "I think Garibaldi did it. I'm not quite sure what's going on, but yeah, he did it. He definitely did it. That guy's dead." And that was it. She freaked out. She phoned the police, who came out and listened, and said, "Who's this Garibaldi guy? What's going on? You know, like, do you know anyone called Garibaldi? You know, we've got a big Italian community here. Do you know this person? Do you know who would have left you this message?" She's like, "I don't know, but obviously someone's dead, and they think Garibaldi did it." Fast forward to the weekend, and Scott's talking to his friend Mike about, you know, Babylon 5, and she's going. She suddenly goes, "Oh my God!" And she's like, "It was you on the answering machine. It was you talking about Garibaldi and the guy who got shot." She hadn't said anything to anybody about it. And she phoned the police about Mike's cryptic message about fictional characters.
I guess no one at the police station had watched Babylon 5 then.
No, she didn't say anything. And Scott said, "Yeah, I got home and listened to the message and went, yeah, I'll give him a call later and discuss the plotline." And he was, "I know it's Mike. I know who Garibaldi is. I know what he's talking about." And Scott's point was, "Well, you see, Erin, you need to be watching these shows. You wouldn't have got confused and wasted the police department's time."
Oh my God.
Yeah,
That's like something that would happen in like Seinfeld or something.
yeah. Very,
That's not
very
something that
funny.
happens in real life.
I think so.
I do think it's funny.
Actually, the one show I want to go back and rewatch is Farscape.
We just watched that. We just rewatched Farscape. Well, no, we just watched Farscape. I've never actually
That's
watched
the
it.
Australian-made one, right?
Yeah,
Isn't it?
you know
That
what
was made
happened?
here.
Our DVDs, the last scene in the last episode, our DVD decided to cark it and stopped working.
Oh, bugger.
No!
Peacekeeper War.
Not the miniseries part, but the last episode.
Right,
Have you both seen Farscape?
I haven't seen the end of it because again I was in Japan.
Okay, well, no, I'm not going to tell you what happens then.
No,
But-
I know the basic ending, so it's fine because I did research because I couldn't stand not knowing.
Well, we had to go and find this grainy, crappy thing on YouTube to try and get the very last scene because the stupid DVD carked it. Like, I don't know what the hell was wrong with it. It did the same thing with something else. What was the other? Of the last one of Buffy, which didn't matter as much because I'd seen Buffy before. But I was like, God damn it, what are you doing in the last episode? Maybe they tried to cram too much onto one DVD and it just can't read the edges on our player. I don't know what its problem is. But, oh, man, I was like, I could have thrown something at the TV.
That would have been annoying. No, I really want to rewatch Farscape because I feel like I've sort of filled in a few of the gaps over the years, but I never really sat down and just watched it, and I would really like to. But it turns out, even though Battlestar Galactica is Niall's favourite TV show, he's not all that hugely into sci-fi.
Yeah, and Farscape's kind of not for the uninitiated as far as sci-fi goes because it's very out there. You know, you've got the crazy looking aliens like in Star Trek. It's not like Firefly where you can go, okay, well, it's a bunch of people. They might be on a spaceship, but most of the situations are fairly, you know, it's like a Western, so you can kind of, you know, we've kind of talked people into watching Firefly by saying, well, it's not really that much in science fiction. Whereas Farscape, you can imagine, like, I could see my dad sitting down to watch it and just being like, this is the biggest load of shit I've ever seen.
But see, this is what
all the people look funny.
I thought Nye would like it. So Battlestar Galactica is his favourite TV show, not just favourite sci-fi, his favourite TV show. He happily watches Star Trek with me, and he's perfectly happy watching it. And he loves Firefly. So I'm like, Farscape, he'd be into that. Nah, won't touch it.
It is, yeah.
Is it
It's a little bit
concentrated,
out
yeah?
there, though. There's some really weird episodes of Farscape too. Like there's one where the cartoon. You know, there's one where they're like it's like the
Wile E.
Coyote and Roadrunner, and it's like this whole episode where they're like painting shit on walls and stuff, and it's like
Right.
I thought it was awesome, but I could imagine that people who are not really sci-fi people would be like, yeah, this is just crazy.
What was the what? Now I might be showing my age here, although Mel, you can show your age with me.
Hang on, wait a second. How old are you?
I'm 38. I know Mel's about
Well,
35, 36. Is
What,
that right?
you're 3 years older than me, so, you know.
Oh, okay.
probably
So
not
let's
much
be old
different.
together. Okay, let's be old together then. Okay. I thought you were a lot younger than us, Kirsten. Do you guys remember, and I think it was German, there was a show and the guy had like a mushroom head of like hair? It was a sci-fi show and then there was singing in one episode. Do you guys remember this? It was so
No.
strange.
No.
Okay.
I remember I used to watch a show called Inspector Rex, which was German.
Yeah, that's the only German show I could think of
It
too.
was-
I was like,
it
oh yeah,
wasn't-
that's correct.
It was English, but it was obviously with German money or something like that. You know, the Neverending Story is German, but they do it in English. It was like
Yeah.
that. So you kind of go, okay, there's something, you know, not quite.
Oh, see, that might not be helping me then, because that might be putting me off expecting it to be German.
What was it? Because I always thought Farscape, that was what Farscape was, but it's not that one. It's the reason also Nye's put off by Farscape is because it's actually Australian as opposed to, you know.
There are some bad acting choices in a Farscape too. As much as I enjoyed it, I was kind of there was a few things that was like, oh, that wasn't good.
I just think it's wonderful how they use puppets to create aliens and things along those lines. And I love the fact that they're shit
Doctor Who.
alive. See, there's a lot in Farscape I just forgive because I
Right.
think that it's awesome how they've done other things. Whereas,
Right.
yeah, he likes ones which are well acted and things like that. So I think that's probably where it comes from. But he decided to word it to me as, oh, I'm not hugely into sci-fi. Because at the same
Yeah.
time, I'd also been trying to convince him that this Expanse show was coming and I was really looking forward to it. And he was a bit like, eh. I think
I'm
it's-
hoping it's going to be good.
well, I reckon this
I'm
one's going to be
hopeful.
right up his alley, so I think that it'll be good, but I won't introduce it to him until it's been going for a little while and I've tested it out. So, but yeah, he loves Doctor Who, but we don't watch it anymore. We stopped pretty much at the end of Rory and Amy's start time, and we were just like, yeah, had enough now.
What about? Did you ever watch Stargate?
I watched a bit of it. I always enjoyed an episode here and there, but I don't know. I think I was just always really sad that Daniel's lost his wife, and I just couldn't cope with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved the movie, but yeah, I didn't like where the TV show took it, and I know there's
Yeah,
lots more.
Yeah.
I love the TV show of Stargate, and then I want to rewatch Stargate. I'm like, God damn it, why am I rewatching things when there's things I haven't seen? But I want to rewatch X-Files before the new episodes come out. I want to rewatch Stargate because of Farscape, because now I've seen Farscape. And the two main characters from Farscape are in the last few seasons of Stargate. And I'm like, oh, I want to see that. And that's putting Stargate clips on because I mentioned it. Why?
Well, they put the main characters of Farscape into Stargate.
Yeah, like the two
As
main
in,
characters
like,
from
across
Farscape.
universe.
No. The two main actors, I should say.
Oh, the actors, right. Okay.
Right.
That's more like
The
it.
two actors that are the main characters in Farscape become main characters in Stargate towards the end. And then there's this episode that Matt is putting on now where they do this whole, like, parody of Farscape, which is hilarious because they actually play their same characters.
Oh.
But
No.
send me the link and I'll put the link in the thing forums.
Okay.
Send me the link. I'll put the link in here for you. I was going to turn my laptop and show you what he's showing on his computer, and then I went, efficient ways to do this.
So 20th century.
Well.
Oh, it's so funny. I can't remember that thing, but I do remember it being hilarious. Sorry.
That's right. I'm trying to think of what it was. I feel like the mushroom thing triggers something, but I just can't think of what it is.
It was here, but
Giving me a Facebook link. Hang on, that's not right.
German sci-fi show.
Yeah, don't try that link because I don't think that link works. Hang on. Try this second one. Why is it coming up HTTPS? Doesn't make any sense.
Everything should be actually.
Even YouTube?
Yes.
Oh,
I must be
is that it?
old or something.
Everything.
Oh, that's it. That's it. Lex. That's what it was called. I found it.
Yeah, no, that doesn't ring a bell.
What was it, sorry?
Lex with 2 X's.
It sounds vaguely familiar, but I just can't place it with anything. Wait, let me actually do a quick search and see if I can find a picture.
Google it. I was going.
Oh yes, that does look familiar. Am I alone? Oh, Sarah's gone.
With 2 X's?
Yeah, 2 X's.
Lex.
Matt obviously knows what you're talking about. He's like, his little ears picked up there.
Mark Shanks married the chick from Lex.
All right, okay. Apparently, Michael Shanks from Stargate married the chick from Lex.
Oh, okay. Hmm.
Okay, I don't know what happened.
I don't remember that. I don't remember that.
It went quiet all of a
the
sudden.
Apple Watch for some reason, and I'm not buying an Apple Watch, so I don't know why.
It looks like a dragonfly head.
Which one? What are we looking at?
The ship.
Lex.
Ship. I just googled it.
Lex? Yeah. But check out the guy with the and there was this really weird episode where they this is before Buffy, where they sung to each other. It was really strange. Oh dear. But I like the fact that I googled Jim Sci-Fi show and I found it. So obviously I got it right.
I wish I could do that with some books. Seriously, I can remember some books that I read when I was young, and I really want a copy of them. Like there's this book that I read where it was about terraforming Venus.
Oh, that sounds good.
It was really
if you're
good.
going to pick a planet to terraform, why would you pick Venus?
Look, I know that logically, but at the time when I
Yeah.
read it, it was just a good book that I picked up at a secondhand bookshop. And one of the things I really liked about it is that they had a implant which did fertility for you well before Implanon was around. And so now every time I think about Implanon, I'm like, oh, I really want to read that book again, but I don't know what it was called.
Ah.
Well, hang on. Here's a question: does Venus still have a magnetic field, its own? Yeah, because that's when Mars falls down on the whole terraforming thing. Is that it lost its iron core, and so it doesn't have a magnetic field to protect it from all this some stuff. People help me. Yeah, radiation and all that kind of stuff. So,
well, I don't know how strong the magnetic core is of Venus, but the bigger problem is that it doesn't have the base elements that we would require. So it's basically
it's got a whole lot of really awful gas. Maybe we mine it for gas.
pretty much.
Yeah.
You have to do something to get rid of some of the atmosphere. Like, it's not adding atmosphere. Like, most terraforming, you kind of imagine that they're actually adding an atmosphere to a planet. Whereas Venus, it's like, you need to get rid of some of this shit because it's actually crushing.
Well, maybe that's a different way of approaching the problem. You need to actually, that's actually a good point there, Kirsten. You've got me thinking. Is that have we been attacking the whole terraforming thing from the wrong direction about adding atmosphere as opposed to taking it away? Yeah. But to Mel's point, you need to have something to work with as a baseline.
Yeah.
So,
You need the basis because it needs to be worthwhile to go there in the first place. So it's okay to get rid of things or to add things, but you need a basic there to get going with in the first place.
Has Mars got the basic?
Mars has a good portion of what we need, which is one of the reasons why I think it's a more likely candidate for having had life, even though it may not exist now. Or it won't exist now.
It freezes water at the poles, doesn't it? So they reckon they can do something with that.
So there's a couple of theories about it. If you're really interested in it, but you don't want to read dry stuff, I highly recommend reading Red Mars, Green Mars, and Blue Mars. So
I read most of Red Mars. I think
it's a bit dry, but
oh my god,
ideas behind it is just like
yeah. I read quite a bit of it, but Kim Stanley Robinson is a bit,
Yeah.
lacking in some character development.
Well, thank you for saying that, because that's my thing when I read, is I read for characters, and that's why I enjoyed the Goblin Emperor so much, because there wasn't really a lot going on plot-wise, but it was about a character, and I know that as a reader, I'm character-driven, and a lot of the time when I read reviews of things that I loved that other people hated, it's because they're saying, but nothing happened, there was no plot. And I'm like, I don't care, as long as the character is really well developed and nothing's going on with that character.
See, the thing is I do think Red Mars gets very focused on the character side of things when it gets more political in the second book, so it is actually good in that respect. But at the same time, I don't like any of the characters, so it's a bit...
And that's the thing I really battled to get there, and then because they start off at the beginning where there's been a problem. And then they go back to the ship. And then I just didn't care. I was like, I really don't like any of you. And it was like, and the whole Mars One thing, which I've kind of seen some of the candidates, I was like, I don't like any of these people who are going there to start again, but maybe that's not a problem. But they've all got to live together. I don't know.
Yeah. See, I think the reason it appeals to me is because I have been fascinated behind the idea of terraforming Mars for years. It's been one of my biggest things when it comes to sci-fi, and so for me this is the epitome of that. This is the book that does it right. And yes, it is annoying with the character side of things, but I'm actually, strangely enough, reading it for the science because he really does his research.
Well, that's cool. That's cool. I mean, I think I read, did he write one that was in Antarctica, or was that somebody else's stuff? Because I'm a big, like where you are about terraforming of Mars, I'm like that, or I used to be very much an Antarctica file. Like, I loved all that, because that to me is like the closest we get to outer space exploration, and even living in a way that you would in outer space is living like, if you live at the South, if you winter over at the South Pole, that's essentially the closest you'll ever get to living on another planet, because you're in 24-hour darkness. Communications get cut. I think it's a lot better than now, but it used to be communications used to get cut off regularly by the Aurora Borealis. It's just fascinating, and I just find that mentality. And I actually made friends with a woman back in the late 90s, Andrea Grant, who was a meteorologist down there, and she did a whole year, and she wrote a blog. I mean, this is back in the late 90s, and I just got in touch with her, and she was coming through New Zealand on her way back to America, and I actually got to meet her, and it was like the story she could tell. It was awesome. I'm still like in touch with her and everything. I wanted to make a TV series back when I had ambitions to do those kind of things, about like a group of people living at McMurdo, and some of them are living at Scott Base and stuff. And yeah, she was like, the stories were amazing, and she's right. Like, it takes a certain type of person to want to go down and live there, and it's probably I mean, there was this amazing
her daughter is a psychologist, I think, not a psychiatrist, but she actually went down to Antarctica for a while, because a lot of the people that go down there and live there for long periods of time actually need counselling, because it's so isolated, and it does really affect people quite strongly.
But people love it. Like, a lot of people just do, just keep putting their hands up. So that's why it's often very difficult to get, if you're from a smaller country, to get those positions, because if you don't have a big base, like if you're not based at McMurdo, which is a big base, there's 1,000 people at McMurdo. If you're like one of the English bases, there's like 30 people there, and people just keep putting their hand. Of course, they're going to take people who have proved themselves to be, sane, do a good job, have done it before. They're going to keep taking those people, and so it can be really hard to. Yeah, it can be hard. But I remember watching this Wim Wenders documentary, and he had this guy, he was working at McMurdo, and he's hilarious. He was basically a philosopher, and he was like driving the big ice clearing trucks, for the runways and stuff. And he said the same thing. He said, this is the closest you get to jumping off the map. And I thought that was such a beautiful way of putting it. He said, this is people who come here are basically explorers that are trying, that you want to come and jump off the edge of the map, because it's the unknown. And I thought that's so.
It's not just the unknown, but that tie to technology. If your technology fails you, you're dead. It's the same in space. Like your spacesuit fails, you're fucked. You can't just, it's not even the desert is not as bad. Like, okay, you might not survive very long if you don't find water, but you've got a chance. Whereas, like, if you don't have technology, warm clothing, heating, blah, 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 in Antarctica, you're dead. You're not going to last very long at all. And it's that fragility, this layer of, okay, there's this layer of technology between me and the world, and if that fails, I'm screwed.
Yeah.
It's very similar to being in outer space. I would
yeah, and that's I think they're planning on doing a lot of the training for Mars One if it ever goes ahead. They're planning on doing a lot of that training in Antarctica because it is the closest that you'll get to being, in outer space and living in really harsh climate and conditions. So
it's going to be cold too. So that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got to test their equipment, and they've got to test it in the closest environment they possibly can, which means they need an atmosphere, but they also need it to be cold.
So that'll be fascinating.
Yeah. I brought that up to me the other day when we had the lunar eclipse, and I was like, I hope in our lifetime we have an opportunity to fly to the moon as just to go visit sort of thing. I'm like, I don't think that's going to happen. He's like, I don't know. They're already planning on sending people to Mars. Surely we'll be able to go to the moon. I'm like, no, dude. They're taking names of applicants. They're not sending anybody.
Yeah, and it's
money.
Yeah.
I think the only way that there would be a chance of that happening is if they were to build a space elevator. Because if they were going to send people up in rockets, it's just too prohibitively expensive for the general person to afford a ticket to go to the moon. Even if they made it so common that it happens all the time, you still the amount of fuel and energy that it takes to get out of our atmosphere. It's going to be too expensive.
It was so expensive.
Unless they build a space elevator, and then it would be really interesting.
And look at it was so expensive that NASA shut theirs down, and everyone goes to Russia. So it's like even America kind of went, we can't make this a sustainable thing. So everyone's going over there. I think the Chinese and maybe the Iranians have, haven't
the Russians pulled out of the ISS now too?
Sorry?
Didn't the Russians pull out of the International Space Station?
Oh, I don't know.
Somebody did. I don't know if it was, maybe it wasn't the Russians, maybe it was the Chinese. But somebody did.
Probably not the Russians, because then we put almost no one left.
But no,
I remember reading it and thinking, holy shit, who's actually going to be there then?
Yeah. Then the Russians do, because they all the satellites and stuff, because I remember hearing from Foxtel, that's where all the satellites go from as well. So they make a good trade in getting people up and down and getting shit into space. Yeah. So all the satellites.
I'm sure I read a thing not that long ago about somebody pulled out and they basically took all their shit with them. They were like, sorry, we're not going to be part of the International Space Station anymore. Am I going completely crazy?
No, I don't think the Chinese were ever part of it. I don't know.
No, I don't think they were. I think they did their own program.
Yeah.
But I reckon if anybody gets to Mars first, it's going to be the Chinese.
Yeah, I agree.
If for no other reason than because they don't have the same problem with sending people to die that we do.
Maybe they haven't done it yet. It was an article I read on the Mary Sue. Have you guys seen the Mary Sue website?
Yeah.
And it says Russia will officially pull out of the ISS and take their parts with them.
Who will?
Russia. I'll show you. Hang on. This is the article. This is the article that I read. So I don't know.
Oh, all right. Did you?
Yeah. Okay. So it hasn't happened yet. They're officially announced they're going to pull out in 2024. So they've got a while to go yet. But I just remembered reading this and thinking, who the hell will do that? If they've probably changed their mind before that happens. That's a long way away.
2024. That's pretty far off. I think that they've got a good chance of changing their mind before then.
Well, and maybe this is what the US needs to hear to put NASA back and make Neil deGrasse Tyson's dreams come true and get their stuff happening again.
Because really, America does need to get their butt back into gear.
They really do.
It's all political. NASA's budget comparative to their military budget is almost nothing. So it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's just
yeah. Well, but I get it. I do get it from their point of view as justifying spending all that money when they've got they've had a lot of problems this century, and he's done a lot of stuff to try and clean things up, but it's because
until you research how many many
I'm
things
not disagreeing.
are in our world because of NASA.
I know, I'm not disagreeing, but I think
that's what I'm saying though. Like,
the
they can
American
make that
people
argument that it's a waste of money, but there are a lot of things that we use every single day that we wouldn't have if NASA hadn't been around.
I know, and I know this, and you know this, but we're not the voting public of the US who are not as well educated as we are. And,
and that's why I say it's a political thing. That's
yeah. And it's also because that kind of spending is above the line as far as, you know, it's in the public eye. There is spending that happens that, you know, is below the line, like it's out of sight. So that's where you kind of got to go. That's the, you know, some of that has to shift around, or you have to kind of decide which way to go. I mean, I don't know how JPL is still doing with, you know, because that's partly NASA. I think it's partly private funding. But, you know, you're completely right. I mean, all the stuff they've discovered on Mars with the rovers and everything like that, that comes back and helps with more clean and sustainable mining practices here. You know, all kinds of how to, you know, make the most out of stuff. There's all kinds also environmental things that you're getting out of it. So I don't disagree at all.
We actually have to teach it. The next unit that I'm teaching my year 5s, which comes from the Queensland developed. It's called C2C curriculum to the classroom. So they take the Australian curriculum and then they give you lessons that go with it. It's all about the solar system and space and blah, blah. And one of the there's a series of lessons that are all about inventions that have happened because of NASA and how they've changed our world.
Oh, that's so cool.
Which I'm really looking forward to teaching it, actually. I'm like, oh, this is a good thing for year 5 because it sounds like really fun. There's the whole, and I'm sure there's a website about inventions from NASA.
Yeah.
One of the courses I actually did at uni when I did my teaching degree was the science and science fiction, and we used to watch science fiction movies and read science fiction books, which is how I got introduced to Red Mars. And we would analyse the science behind them and actually look at it all. It was so cool. I love that class. Most awesome class ever.
Well, that's what I'm kind of still got to work on my talk because I haven't done much on it at all. But part of what I'm going to talk about with narrative and is and why it's important to what we do in IT is that so much inspiration also comes from it. So it's good to be inspiring everywhere. Because if you look at the number of ideas, I think you guys even said there was a couple before, but if you look at all the ideas that were in science fiction and then became science fact because they inspired people to think about things in different ways. You know, satellites was Arthur C. Clarke, that's always the big one. But there was something else, Mel, you mentioned before, and it was like, you know, that didn't exist and no one kind of thought of it, and then, you know, here it is, you know, years later. I can't remember I can't remember, but I do remember thinking, you know, half an hour ago there was something you'd mentioned, and I went, yeah, like that used to be a science fiction thing, and now it's science fact, you know. It inspired someone to think about it in a different way. Or to
what I always think about for that sort of stuff is iPads and Star Trek.
Yes, actually, I think that was what you were talking about, yeah.
It might have been, actually, yeah.
About them having their little, what do they call them in Star Trek?
Comms?
No.
The little things they have in Star Trek that are like an iPad. What are they called?
Pads.
They just call it a pad. Well, there you go.
Personal access display device.
The difference is
personal access display device, apparently.
Yeah, they would have lots of them, whereas nowadays we would just have one and we'd shift the information on and off as needed.
Yeah.
Oh, so many cool things.
Yeah, that sort of stuff is the sort of stuff that I quite like. I love that sort of thing. There's so much in science fiction which we get in today's world, so I love it.
Sorry, I'm filling the thing with links. But
You're right. You're allowed to do that.
We love more links coming. More links coming through. Yay!
Cat scan.
I didn't have my favourite one on that first one. My first one didn't have my favourite NASA invention.
What's that?
Velcro.
Yes.
Velcro, yes.
That's my favourite one. It's so useful. But I love that. That's you know, that's so simple, but it's so great.
The joystick for a computer game.
Yeah. I'm looking at the what do you call it? The space blankets.
Yeah.
Where are the space blankets? Oh, the joystick.
Solar energy.
Memory foam. Smoke detectors.
Water filters. Yeah.
Water filters are very cool.
Super soaker.
God, guys, seriously, The Martian is so good for all of this shit.
Oh, I'm looking forward to reading it.
Oh, so good. I'm actually trying to slow myself down because really I just want to listen to the whole thing. But I'm like, oh, but we're going to be reading it. Should I just stop now and come back
I
to it
haven't
later?
even started yet. I haven't started it yet. Matt said
Oh,
read
the
it
Super
quickly.
Soaker. That's awesome. The Super Soaker.
Mum,
It's not even the next book.
I know. He's like,
No,
oh, it's not the next book.
I
You have to
started.
read it. Oh, yeah. Matt hasn't read Ready Player One yet.
No,
I
I've
haven't
read.
read it yet either. I'm waiting.
No, guys, I had Ready Player One and The Martian at Christmas in audiobook. I've listened to Ready Player One already, and The Martian I started at Christmas, but I'm only a quarter of the way through, and I was listening to a little bit at a time, but then I sort of went, I should stop now that Matt's picked it.
When are we doing The Martian? Am I going to be able to do The Martian? I might not.
Matt says you're posting calling all Aussies strong. What?
Says,
No, what?
Next hangout for Fortune's Pawn is Monday, May 4th. But that's tonight.
Yeah, okay. He's saying that your thing says that Monday, May 4th was tonight's hangout when it's actually the 6th. So it's a bit late to tell you that it's wrong.
No, not the April one. May 4th.
But Fortune's Pawn is the book we're talking about now.
Exactly. Here.
Oh, so okay, I get it. You've copied and pasted from the last one and then not changed the name of the book.
Oh,
No,
shit, right.
I've got the mirror. No, I've got the mirror. Video down under the mirror. 4th of May, 8 o'clock. I've got that.
Matt's saying it says Fortune's Pawn.
Says
No, guys.
hangout for Fortune's Pawn is Monday, May 4th.
Monday, May 4th.
Yeah, I know what he's talking about. It's in the Vaginal Fantasy Hangout post. That's what he's talking about.
Yeah, in the calling all Aussies post.
Yeah. I knew what he meant as soon as you said it because the copy and paste, because that's the only one I copy and paste.
Oh, I think I
He likes pointing
maybe
out
on the
when people
Martian.
are wrong.
I just noticed it, alright?
Oh,
It's all right, I
Matt.
only just posted it before this hangout, so it hasn't been up for very long. It's all good.
I think I put a.
notification, had a look, I noticed an error.
Thank you, Matt.
That's all.
Thanks, Matt. Kirsten, did you say Ready Player? Who was the Ready Player One narrated by? Did you say it was Will Wheaton?
Yeah,
Yes,
Will
it is.
Wheaton. Yeah.
Awesome.
I listened to the audiobook and it was great.
Because I think we're doing. I should be. Hopefully, I won't have popped because I'm going to do it. And who's reading The Martian? Because that sounds good. Because I'm going to take your advice, Kirsten, and do audiobooks if I can.
Yeah.
Audiobook
I
is
did
good.
find that was good.
Yeah.
Then
I was saying
to
to
read
Kevin,
a
he
real
was like,
book, you have to have light on, and when you're feeding in the middle of the night, you don't want to turn the light on because it might wake the baby, make them.
Well, yeah, because I was saying to someone, and even Kevin must have paid attention, or I told him that that you were like in a hangout with like 2 weeks after giving birth, and everyone was like shocked, and it turned out you'd kept up through audiobooks, and I thought it was such a good piece of advice. I told Mum, and she was like, yeah, that's a great idea, because she said she got really bored breastfeeding. She's like,
well, especially when they're little, because they feed for so freaking long.
Yeah,
like when they get older, they get real quick, and you can feed them in 5-10 minutes. When they're real little, they'll sit there for 45 minutes, an hour, and you're like,
I know.
Oh.
And that's what I'm thinking. That's why I thought the audiobook thing is really good, because if it's 2 o'clock in the morning, all you want to do is go back to bed, and you're going to be stuck there. I'm going to be stuck there for like an hour, so.
Yeah, and I tried reading, and even reading on a device without turning the lights on, my brain was so fried I couldn't even really look at the words. I tried watching, that was when I watched a lot of Battlestar Galactica, because I would just tee up the episodes and put them on, but then I found that because it was sound and light, it was more distracting for Xander, and it was hard to get him back to sleep.
Yeah.
So the audio books I found was really good, because
So was he was almost dream feeding by the sounds of things.
Yeah. I'd pick him up. I'd try and get up as soon as I heard him make a noise and pick him up and feed him, and usually he'd be pretty much back asleep by the time I put him back down, until he got a bit older, and then I'd be fucking
cool.
Rocking, and then you do that thing where you put them in the cot, and then you try and move your arm out from underneath them without waking them up, and then it's like, God damn it, he woke up, and now I have to do it all over again. But it doesn't last that long, and now he's like, now he's sleeping through the whole night, and it's
Yay. Well, how old is he
it,
now? He must be well over a year, right?
Yeah, he'll be 18 months next month.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Cool.
Yeah.
The other thing too is I reckon audiobooks would be good for when you're doing other bits and jobs around the house too. Like I listen to audiobooks when I'm crocheting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I remember Kirsten saying that she finds it. I remember you saying, Kirsten, you talk about how you'd find things to do. I just want to listen to another chapter, or maybe I'll do that, or maybe I'll vacuum.
Yeah, I'll just do some dishes when normally I wouldn't want to do the dishes. Yeah, I just want to finish this book. Yeah. I haven't listened to an audiobook in a while, actually.
So for your information, we are doing our Hangout for the Martian on July 20th.
Yeah, no, I found it. I think I put a maybe on it.
When are you due, sorry, Sarah?
25th of May is when I'm actually due.
Oh,
So
wow.
even I know I chose Ready Player One, which I think we're doing like 2 weeks beforehand. So yeah, hopefully I'm suspecting I'll go late, like a week late, but you never know. They'll come when they want to come.
You never know, yeah. We were 2 weeks early, so.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah.
But that was the
Intervention.
doctor intervention because my placenta was no longer feeding him, and they were like,
Oh, well,
"We need
that's
to get
good
him
then.
out." So
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
you did. Yeah. Did they just induce you, or did you have a C-section?
No, yeah, I had a C-section, and it was like we went in for a routine checkup, and they went, "Oh, we need to have a scan because
Holy crap!
because your size doesn't look right." And so we went and had another scan, and we came back, and she went, "Let's have this baby today." And she did
my
a scan
God.
and went, "Well, it's not really in the right position yet. We could induce you, but you'd probably just be in labour for hours and have to have a
Exhausted.
Caesar anyway." She recommended we just have a Caesar. So she was like, "Yeah, let's have this baby today."
Well, you know
Went
what?
straight from the doctor's
You're
office
here,
to the hospital.
and is here. That's when things like in
Yeah.
2 years ago, people died. So you know.
Oh yeah.
it's
Well,
all
I
good news.
reckon it would have been him because he was only £5.13.
What's
he
that
was
in kg? I have no idea. Sorry.
2.6 kilos.
Oh my God, he's tiny. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he was really tiny because he wasn't like not only was he 2 weeks
He
old,
wasn't
he
feeding him.
stopped being fed. So I don't know whether he would have survived a long labour. We don't know that, but I think the doctor probably made the right decision. But it was the day when she was like, "You're having a Caesar right now, let's go." And then we had to rush to the hospital, and they were like, "We've got you booked in for," what was it? They said they'd booked us in for like 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
And so they threw me in this gown and they put me in, and then they were like, "Oh no, we've pushed you back to 4." So I had to sit down like in my gown in the hospital room for 2 hours and wait before they actually brought me into surgery. So I had 2 hours to sit there freaking out. But
Oh man.
yeah, it was very, very sudden. It was very.
Did you suspect something? Did you suspect anything? Did you feel like you hadn't grown at all in the last like few weeks
No,
or anything?
we were all good until that day, and then she was like, "Oh."
Because he was so small. He was so small.
Yeah, he was tiny. I know someone who had twins who had one of her twins was bigger than mine. But, you know, he was fine. He came out and he was all good. So, you know.
That's good. That's good. Yeah.
Just little we went, "Oh, we have to go and buy some 5.0 clothes," which we didn't have
yeah. I've gone for clothes between 3 and 3.5 kg. I don't know what that is. Is that triple O? I don't know. Is that quadruple O?
It'd be 4 O's. That'd be 4 O's.
I haven't washed anything yet. I'm waiting for my parental party because I'm sure people can give me stuff and then I can just wash everything together.
Yeah, I did that. I had a lot of hand-me-downs, and then I was like, "Holy shit, baby clothes take up a lot of washing line space." Because you can put heaps of baby clothes in one washing load because they're little, but then when you hang them up, they're still taking up space along the line. And I was like, "Oh my God, one load of washing took up the whole washing line. What am I going to do?"
We haven't had too many hand-me-downs as far as clothes are concerned. People keep asking us, "Oh, we've got all this stuff. Do you want anything?" We say, "Yeah, clothes would be great," and then nothing's turned up. Like we're like, "Well, that's fine. We're not going to bug people about it." Like, you know.
You probably won't use as many clothes as you think you will either. Like we had so many clothes, and really, they don't wear that many of them.
I've bought stuff so that the kid has something to wear home, and for the and then once they get bigger, we'll sort it out. But
and you don't know. That's the thing. You don't know how big they're going to be, and
well, that's it. And I'm attracted. And the other thing is, oh God, I mean, this is me on my rant again. It's so fucking gender specific, which drives me up the wall.
You can't go. Like I remember thinking, I'm not going to be one of those people that goes blue is for boys and pink is for girls. You go
But
into every shop, there's a blue aisle and a pink aisle of shit.
It
The
pisses
pink
me
stuff
off.
has all got frills and lace and blah blah
I
blah.
know.
There's nothing that's like.
And if I have a
Gen
girl,
Z.
and I know and I feel like I'm having a girl, but who knows? I don't want any of that. I mean, Kevin and I, we're like you guys. We're geeks. So I see dinosaurs, I see robots. I want that on my girl as well as my boy. That's what I want.
Yeah.
So I'm just going, you know what? I'm going to buy the stuff I like, and to hell with, if they accidentally call her a boy or him a girl, who cares? I don't care.
But I found that having a boy, there was not very much. Like, I think if we'd had a girl, we probably would have been buying a lot more stuff that was sort of maybe from the boys' aisle for the girl. But I found that wasn't much in the girly sort of section.
Yeah, no, I saw that.
Something I would pick for a boy, which I know sounds awful, but
no, I felt the same thing. I felt the same thing.
There wasn't things that
It's bullshit like princess stuff, and
and all the frills and all the onesies have little skirts and things, and
I just
I wouldn't even want to put on a girl sometimes too.
Yeah,
that's how I feel about it. I'm like, I don't want to put that on. If I have a girl, I'm not putting my girl on that. I don't want to
we haven't gotten rid of any of our stuff, because I've gone like, well, we would like to have another baby, and I've gone, okay, we've got shitloads of boy stuff, but even if we have a girl, there's a whole lot of that stuff that will be fine for a girl.
That's actually right. And my friend Kyla, actually, I have got some great hand-me-downs from my friend Kyla. She gave me all her sleep sacks, which are fantastic.
That's awesome, yeah.
Yeah, and they're expensive, so I'm so grateful to get them. And she's like, and a lot of them are pink because everyone bought her sleep sacks because she has a girl, and she does have a girly girl. She has a princessy girl. But she's like, she had a boy the second time around. He went in all of them too. She's like, look, I'm not going to pay another $70 to get a boy, but like he can go in the pink one and with the bows. I don't care, he doesn't know. He doesn't care, it's not going to...
We had an argument with my mother. Not an argument, but a discussion with my mother today, because she said something about, do you remember what she said?
Oh, about boys playing with dolls.
Yeah, she said, oh, well, Xander won't have a doll to play with. And I'm like, well, actually, but when I get pregnant with another baby,
action figures,
I
apparently.
buy Xander a baby doll toy, so that I can teach him about Mummy's going to have a baby, and then, teach him about, put the baby down to bed and shh, be quiet for the baby, and sort of use that as a way to kind of try and talk to him about what's going to happen. And Mum was like, oh, boys don't play with dolls. I'm like, I don't actually give a shit about whether my boys play with dolls. And I said that argument about
dolls
what are you
because
worried
people like
he'll
your
grow up
mother
to be
tell
a
them that
good
they shouldn't play
father?
with dolls.
Yeah.
That boys can play with whatever they want to, as long as the people in their lives don't tell them that they can or can't. Same thing for girls.
Yeah.
And that's where my annoyance comes with things, is that, there's a lot of girl power out there, and a lot of like not telling girls that what they can and can't play with, and and there's a lot of power and awareness around that. But it goes the other way as well, like making sure that boys know that it's okay to want to, if you want to, play the cook, or you want to sweep things. Like, I've got a friend of mine whose kid loves sweeping. I'm like, encourage that shit. If they want to keep things clean, that's great.
Yeah.
Like, he wants to sweep and he wants to keep the house
properly. They don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
They only want to do it when you're useless at it.
But I'm like, and actually there was like, they were showing like these cooking playhouse type things, and it's like boys are as attracted to them as girls, but they're always like in pink, which is hard because boys are like already, they know from such a young age it's supposed to be for girls, which annoys me because pink's just a colour. It's just another colour.
Well, apparently years and years ago it used to be the other way around, that pink was for boys and blue was for girls.
Wow.
I can't remember. Yeah, like
in the early 1900s.
Yeah.
Right.
Because pink was because red was seen as a masculine colour, and pink was like a muted version of red, so that was a masculine colour. And blue's kind of like, you think of baby blue as kind of a soft sort of colour, and they kind of went, well, that was a feminine colour.
Yeah.
And I think it was around the 50s when it switched.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. So it's interesting.
I actually think it had something to do with the war, the Second War.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
Don't know why though. I can't remember.
Yeah, we've always kind of been like, we don't give a shit. What? And if he gets hand-me-down things that are pink, we don't care. Like, he's got.
Yeah.
He doesn't really have much that's pink, but he's got this little chair thing that we got from friends of ours that's pink. and he loves it. Like, you know those
Yeah.
chairs that fold out and make like a like they can lie down on it and it folds back
Oh,
up even
little
like a little
sofa type
armchair.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And he
Yeah.
carries it around the house and loves it.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
don't give a crap.
And I follow this blog, a guy on Instagram actually. He's quite cool. He's got a blog that you can follow, or Facebook page. His thing is Man versus Pink, but what he actually does, which is really cool, he actually tries to wear pink around his daughter at least once a week, so that she doesn't think of it as being a colour that men don't wear, or that men isn't associated with masculinity as well. His daughter's really, obviously. They're a geeky family, and his daughter loves all the Marvel superheroes, and she's got unbelievable amounts of that, of cool, Spider-Man stuff, and she loves Guardians of the Galaxy and things like that. So it's really cool. But yeah. So I'm kind of Anyway, I'm sorry, I railroaded into gender stuff again.
Yeah,
I'm all for the debate. It's all good.
I think Australia, and maybe probably because we're highly influenced by America, are pretty bad that way. I think there are a lot of countries where it's not as bad. I was reading a blog that I really loved, and it seems to have kind of stopped being updated. But it's called The Man Who Is Not My Mother. Have you guys seen that?
What's it called, man?
The Man Who Is Not My Mother. And it's basically this guy who's the stay-at-home dad, and he puts photos up of his little girl and the little quotes.
Is it like a Tumblr?
Supposedly from, it's a Tumblr from,
cool.
so supposedly it's kind of like that one with the cat where he's like, this is the something day of my incarceration, and it's kind of from that dry kind of humour. But it took me, I was reading this blog for ages before I figured out that it was a girl, the baby was a girl, because the clothes were so gender neutral that I could not tell whether it was his daughter or his son.
That's the gender markers.
Because the clothes are all gender neutral, and I was like, wow, you wouldn't see that here.
That's why there's an argument for trans girls when in their teens to have, instead of having hormones given to them, but to instead have hormone suppressants. Because actually, up until you're in your teens, you actually don't really show a lot of features which distinguish you as male or female.
Right.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And in fact, you do, but it's even sooner than that. I mean, I was 11, I think, when I got my period, and
I was young. I was older.
I was a lot younger. And I had to get my first guy when I was about 12. I mean,
but see, it doesn't work as much for girls and guys. So for a female who wants to be male, it's actually really easy to transition because the visual effects are less clear. So apart from the boobs, pretty much once you start taking testosterone, it moves, your fat moves around where it sits, which changes the roundness of your figure. You can develop bigger muscles and things on those lines because of the testosterone and everything. But the reverse effect, so a trans girl who's born male, that's a considerably harder circumstance because of the voice drop, other visual factors that come into play which don't go away. So it's really important for trans girls to have immune suppressants, but not so important for trans boys.
Right. So from male to female is easier or harder? Sorry,
harder. Harder. It is much harder to appear female when you were born male and have gone through all of the hormone transfer.
And to go from female to male. Gotcha.
Exactly.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah.
So I'll show you something.
Yeah, we've got it's actually kind of cool. I had my you know how I run one of the organisers up until Girl Geek Sydney up here. We actually had a lovely email from a trans member of the community who was asking if it would be okay to come. And I'm like, yeah, I'd love you to come. And in fact, that's exactly where we want to be here and be a community for you. So please come.
It's sad though that they feel like they have to ask.
Well, I mean, look, in her defence, she isn't quite fully transitioned yet, so she still she's female in her personal life and when she socializes, and I think she would like to be fully female at some point, but she's still male in her business life. She's in between jobs at the moment. I think this is part of her trying to work out whether she should make the full transition and try and go into things as a female. And I mean, I'm just reading between the lines here of what she sent through, but because she made a really
to acceptance in spaces and things along those lines.
That's exactly the point she was saying. Was she said that, you know, look, in my you know, when I'm at work, I'm still male because of discrimination. But she said it's very obvious in both cases that something's not, you know, I'm not quite one or the other. But I'm like, look, you know, it's fine. We have members of our community. I didn't say this, but I'm just telling you guys, we have got dyke members of our community. They're very dykey. They dress in man's clothes. You know, no one bats an eyelid, so it's going to be fine. Exactly. So it's not it's no one's going to bat an eyelid. But the big thing I did want her to know was that we do have males attend our meetups, so just be aware of that. And it may be because Sydney's a small place, and you know it may be that she's met some of these guys before, in you know in business circles. So, but she's as she wrote me back tonight, said I'm going to come. Thanks. I'm going to come say hi. Because I said, like, come say hi to us. You know, we know who you are. We can support you, and you know, I'm just like. That's exactly what it's about. You know, it's like we're for women in IT, but you know, women come in all kinds of minorities and different shapes and sizes, and you know, it's how you identified to what you were saying before, Mel. So
So I'm going to show you something.
Mhm.
So that's Nye and me, right?
Yeah.
All right, just a tick.
Yep.
That was your anniversary that you guys were away for?
Yeah. So that's just recently.
Yeah.
That's
oh
mine.
wow. When was that?
5 years ago.
5 years.
Wow.
Wow.
So it's a lot easier in that direction.
Can I just commend the choice of ice cream on the right, because that's one of my favourite, the slices.
Well, that was Nye's choice. Mine was the other one because he.
I like the
so delicious.
But yeah.
You want
so
the
that's,
yeah.
Oh shit! Pressed the wrong button. Stop. No, I don't want showcase. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to press that. Okay.
What's the showcase?
So
there's all these things I don't know how to do on this thing. I don't even know how to do what you just did.
That's the screen share.
Yeah, I'm sure I tried to do that once and I'm not really exactly sure how to do it.
It basically what it does is as soon as you do it, it'll come up with all the windows you currently have open and you can
choose which one. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was like, did I have like 25 windows open?
Well, see, with this one, what I had to do is I had to flick between two different tabs I had open because I could choose the window, but I couldn't choose the tab.
Oh, yeah, see, that's what I mean. I have lots of tabs. I don't really open more than one window, but I have lots of tabs.
Well, but the advantage is once I had that window up and it was showing one tab on top, as soon as I switched to the other tab in that window, it switched it on the screen share as well.
Right. Cool.
Love a screen share.
I had a question. Oh, Mel, who was your narrator on The Martian that you'd recommend?
Wait, it's on my phone. Just a tick. It's right here.
Is there more than one narrator?
I was going to say, is there more than one narrator?
I don't know, but you seem to be happy. Like sometimes you can get choices, and I just wanted to check.
And R.C. Bray.
R.C. Bray. Okay. I'll check that out.
He's actually probably one of the things I heard commented on in Sword and Laser when they were doing it was that for those people who read the book, they felt like his voice was more nerdy, and when they listened to the audiobook, they felt like he sounded more rough and gruff than they had pictured in their head. But I'm like, if you've gone with the rough and gruff from the beginning, you don't care because rough and gruff can be just as nerdy if they so choose. So,
yeah.
And so I haven't questioned it, and I've quite enjoyed the sense of humour of it. There has been recently an event that happened which made me sort of go, shit, maybe I should have read the book because of what happened, but I can't say it because that will be a spoiler. So
don't spoil.
No, I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying that
expensive, isn't it? I'm so used to books being so cheap on Kindle that you get to Audible and you go, freaking hell, it's expensive.
Oh, no.
It's not that bad
you
when
don't
you actually subscribe
You've
and you
got
have 25 bloody credits that you haven't used, but
Guys, you got to know how to work the Audible thing, right? So what you
Right.
do is you subscribe, you get your 1 point, you download the book, and then you cancel your subscription.
Right. I know, but
Yeah.
this just like this seems like I'm having a baby, Mel. There's so much faff involved. I couldn't even cancel my Browser Stack subscription. I kept missing it 2 months in a row. I finally cancelled it today. So that's
See, I do it all
see,
with
the problem with Audible too is you've got to download all. Like I've been subscribed for ages and not using my credits because I didn't get to read audiobooks that often, and you can't. So you can't unsubscribe until you use your credits, or you lose all your credits. And I was like, well, I'm not losing
man.
6 credits. And then I had to try and think of 6 books to download.
Yeah.
I just downloaded a bunch of stuff and.
But that's what I did. Like, I had that problem. I cancelled my subscription after I downloaded the books. Now, every time I want to get a book, I subscribe. And sometimes I subscribe for the 2 books a month thing because I want 2 books. And that's even cheaper then. And then, so I subscribe, I get my points, I literally download the book, and then, boom, I cancel my subscription straight away. I do it all within half an hour.
right.
Wow.
You're totally
I'm
not
gonna
meant to, but there's nothing to stop you.
I was just going to say, do you get a tutorial?
No, the only problem is that it takes about, when you do the actual cancellation, there's about 4 steps after that where they go, are you sure? Have you considered this?
Don't break up with us. Don't break up with us.
Pretty much, and you've just got to be persistent and ignore it all, and I don't even answer the questions anymore. They're like, oh, why are you cancelling? And I'm like,
Do you
I don't
have to subscribe, or can you just buy things outright? Because that's what it looks like to
buy
me.
things outright, but they're considerably more expensive.
Right. Okay. Right.
It's
Yeah. 'Cause
basically 1 month subscription costs you roughly $17 Australian, and I can't remember.
They're
right.
like $40-something if you buy just the audio.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
it's 32.14. That's what I'm so shocked about, how much it is. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, that's why I do it, because to me it's worth the extra effort of subscribing and unsubscribing to pay so much less for the book. So, and nobody questions it.
$17 a month, like I may actually get really good value out of that for the next few months. I might be quite happy
Yeah.
just to do that for 3 or 4 months.
Just be cautious. If you get to the point where you've got 2 points that's sitting there waiting to be spent, spend them, cancel the subscription, because once you get past 2, it gets really hard.
What, 2
I had
months?
6. I had 6 points when I unsubscribed. I had 6, and I had to think of 6 books to download. And I just downloaded a couple of things that sounded okay because I just wanted to unsubscribe. And it was just before no, it wasn't. It must have been after I had Xander.
Yeah.
But I was
Yeah.
like, okay, this is something that's eating into our money that doesn't really need to be eating into our
Yeah.
money.
So I've got here, I don't know if this is, they've got $14.95, but I don't know if that's a US price.
That's the US price. So when I said
Right.
17, I said that as the roughly
Yeah.
Australian dollars price.
Yeah, see, and when I was
Gotcha.
subscribed to it, that was when the exchange rate was pretty much on par. Because I was thinking,
Right.
I didn't think it was that bad when I was doing it. But yeah.
Anytime and keep your book. Cancel before the trial is over and you won't be charged. Yeah, because I've bought 1 book, I think. Or maybe you got a free book. I don't remember.
Oh, so if you're subscribing again and you already had an account against that email address, you won't get the free book.
I don't know what I got it for. So I've got.
There's one
Look,
if you go through.
to be honest, though,
Fortnite.
I don't mind paying. But it's just a case of, to your point, Mel. I just don't want it to keep racking up like it did for Browser Stack. But
Look,
you know,
it's
It's
not that
just
hard to cancel. It really isn't hard. It's
Yeah.
really not that hard.
yeah.
And if you struggle with it, let me know and I'll do it. I'll walk you through it. It's really easy though. I promise.
Yeah, look, I couldn't even. Like I tried to read Thinking Fast and Slow. I've got it on Kindle. I downloaded the. I think I got it. I don't remember who I used. Maybe I used the Answer Me This free book one. Because I thought, oh, this is going to be a good way to listen to nonfiction, because I'm terrible at reading nonfiction. I find it really difficult. I love podcasts because I feel like they just know how to make really interesting, like nonfiction subjects interesting. So I listen to a lot of Free Economics and Radio Lab and 99% Invisible, all of those kind of things. But then, they reference books, I want to listen to that, and then I don't know, you're just going, can't you just turn this book into like some really cool podcast and Radio Lab it up? It's just...
Podcasts are a different medium, and the bite-sizedness of it makes it more tasty, basically.
It does.
Yeah.
And when it kind of gets rid of all the waffle.
That's why I pretty much never read non-fiction books, but I will quite happily read a magazine with just little articles in it where, especially science ones and things like that, I'm like, oh, yeah, that was interesting. That's really cool.
Yeah, that's what I love. I love that. You know, I love my Pocket Cast app. It's really great. And, you know, and I've got all of Serial is ready to go. Kevin and I are going to listen to Serial all in one go.
Oh,
and
God.
I've got Criminal. Oh, hey Mel, have you heard of The Illusionist with an A?
Wait.
It's Helen Zaltzman. I know you didn't like Answer Me This, but she's great, and she's completely into etymology of words and sources of stuff like that. And she's got a podcast out, which is being funded by it's Radiotopia. It was one of the ones that got kickstarted, and it's really good. I think you'd. Kirsten, I'm sure you enjoy it too, but I know Mel really loves the history of words and how words came to be. So you should totally have a listen to it. It's really good. And they're all really small, 10, 15. Hold it up.
I'm trying. It's not coming up very well. Is that it?
That's it.
No,
That's
I think it's white.
Yep, no, that's it.
What's it called?
The Illusionist with an A.
I've got it. I'll download the latest episode and give it a listen.
Yeah.
Oh, they're short too. They're only 15 minutes or so.
Yeah, that's why I think you'd like it as well, because they're nice, short, sharp. It looks like that.
Yeah.
La 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 la. Yep.
Downloading.
Yeah.
I must admit, I keep trying new ones, but I'm having a hard time finding new ones I actually enjoy. And I'm not sure if it's because the problem is they might be in the same category as another one that I've listened to, but they're not as good as the one I'm used to, and so I just don't gel with it so easily. I've done that with a few ones where they're supposed to talk about speculative fiction, but in the end I always end up going back to Galactic Suburbia and Sword and Laser, and sometimes The Writer and the Critic. There's I've started listening to a couple of ones. Have you guys heard of Call Your Girlfriend?
No.
It's.
I find if they're recommended normally from another podcast that I like, then they tend to be I quite enjoy them.
Well, this was where I got Call Your Girlfriend from, because the Galactic Suburbia girls recommended it, but I just can't get into it. I keep trying because I'm like, because it's two black ladies. And so I thought, the diversity aspect of it is going to be really good. But the problem is they keep saying things that make me go, oh, guys, I don't want to say reverse racism, but it feels that way. And so
it's not reverse racism. You can be racist against white people. It's still racist.
It's
not.
That
it's a different thing because of white privilege and all of that. It's not really
that's
the
why
same
it's
thing.
It's deemed as acceptable because it's still.
Actually, I think the one that really killed me with them was when they started saying how Kickstarter and things like social crowdfunding sources like that are a real shit thing, and they're never going to go anywhere and everything. I'm like,
Yeah.
Have you guys seen Con Man? Have you guys seen the
I have. I didn't even get to fund it because it blew out. I was like, you know what, you guys are cool on your own.
Oh yes,
I'm having a baby.
People, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. No,
yeah,
I
backed it because I'm like, no, I want to watch the episodes because the trailer looks so funny, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be so good.
I missed out.
Is it going on YouTube?
I wanted to do exploding kittens.
I did Exploding Kittens as well. So you'll have to come up to Brisbane when it comes in, and you can play it at our house.
Yay!
Our friends just gave us a copy of Arkham Horror as an Easter present.
Wow.
I know.
What's the Exploding Kittens thing? Is that is that a game? Is it PC?
It's a card game that came from the guy who did the Oatmeal.
You're kidding.
It's supposed to be a bit Cards Against Humanity-ish.
Yeah.
Okay. It's the second most after Exploding is Exploding Kittens. Oh, cool. Oh, great artwork.
Yeah. Well,
it looks like it'll be fun. It'll be a good one to do if I was going to the. Well, that probably won't be ready by then anyway. if we maybe next year's meetup, we'll
Yeah.
I might actually make it to next year's one, unless I'm pregnant again by then.
That'll be
Well,
right.
next year we're coming to Brisbane.
hope so.
Wherever we go.
I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure.
We've got a big patio that would fit a lot of people. We could do a lot of
Yeah.
meetups there, even though we're out in the sticks. So
I might have to bring a kid and my husband with me.
Oh, if I do Brisbane, I'm going to have to do like a whole tour of Brisbane because there's so many people that we haven't seen in years. Because Nye and I, when we first started dating, he lived in Brisbane. So he's got so many friends and things that we used to hang out with and stuff. And I'm like, oh, we're going to have to do like a whole 2 weeks in Brisbane or something.
yeah.
That'd be cool.
Yeah,
I missed work.
I missed out because you went up to Brisbane and met Felicia and met Matt and Kirsten.
Yeah, it was lots of fun.
It was very
That
good.
was very cool.
I got lucky with that. I was just really lucky that I had the points so I could do a flight and that you guys gave me a bed because, yeah, I was just like...
No, it wasn't like it was meant to be.
Yeah. I was still even on that day, I was like, this isn't really going to happen. Felicia's going to have some commitment come up and she's going to cancel and we're not going to actually get to meet her. And I was trying to psych myself up to be like, don't be too disappointed if it doesn't really happen. And I just couldn't believe that we actually did get to meet her.
Oh, so cool. And
Totally
what was
turned
so cool is that you guys got to meet her like in a small group. Like it was really intimate. What happened?
Yeah, after I paid $40 to have my photo taken with her at the thing on the day, and then I was sitting next to her on the couch.
Sitting next to her in a bar.
It was
so
surreal.
cool. I know, I was living so vicariously through you guys. It was just like, I was like, oh my god. And I was so happy for you, Mel, because you were so like, I have to go, and you got to go.
I know. Oh god, it was so much effort. It was just such a like anyway.
Yeah,
Very
so
good.
Did you guys see that Cubby died? He passed away?
Yeah, I know. I sent her a tweet.
I put just a little thing on. I thought about sending her a Snapchat to say, I'm sorry, but I'm sure lots of people are. And the worst thing is, I think she's away for WonderCon and she's up in, up in Canada.
Shit. She's not even there.
No, that was the thing that occurred to me. I thought she's not even at home. That's awful, poor thing. I mean, if she's got commitments, then that's the last thing she'll want to do is do a panel or do a talk or anything. She'd just be so upset. So
that's what happened to me a couple of years ago. We lost our first pug, and I was actually I was in Sale, and our dog was staying with somebody else, and he died there. And I had to keep going back in and doing these presentations in front of hundreds of kids at a time, and it was awful. I was just like, I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
But you don't get to say goodbye.
No.
Yeah, and like, I'm one of those people, if I had any colleagues or employees come to me and say, my dog's really sick, or my cat's really sick, or passed away, I'd be like, you can't be here, you need to go. I just would understand that, so it's just so unfair on you, Mel, because I would have been like, no, this is cancelled, you need to go. These are family members, you need to go.
Yeah.
The problem is that my work is contractual and it's a one-off, so it's not like going in and doing casual teaching or even just normal teaching or anything. It is literally, this is the time that it has to happen. I can't even be sick. I cannot be sick.
Yeah.
If I cancel a day, I literally have to be in a hospital bed. So
I know, but it's hard. It's just I just feel for you.
The trade-off I have from the work I do, basically. So yeah.
But it's just your head wouldn't be in it, and it'd just be awful.
I was lucky in that I was doing the same thing day over day, so it was just road. So that made it easier a bit. So
yeah, I mean, like my parents, I remember actually when my grandmother died, she died on my birthday, and I was at school on my birthday, and they actually didn't like. I've seen people being taken out of I just thought she might die, like I kind of you had that suspicion, because she kind of had a fall, she blacked out, she was in hospital. Thankfully, my aunt was with her, and the last thing she said was, "Oh, I feel a bit weird," and that was the last thing she said. I feel a bit weird. But they were, at the time I was thinking, why didn't they call the school and get me out? But I knew when I walked in the door, I knew because my mum was home. So, you know, and I walked into the living room. But they just said there's no, that, like, and this is a kind of, I think is kind of a good way. They said, what was the point in telling you? You just have to get yourself home and you'd just be upset, and it's better that you hear here, you know, like, because nothing's going to change that. And I thought that was like, because I was like, why didn't you, you know, and she's like, well, nothing is going to change it. You're going to hear the news at some point. So, you know, we thought, you know, you might as well hear it when you got home so that you're, you know, with us and not, you know, surrounded by strangers or trying to get yourself halfway across the city. So, you know, like it's you know, it's like that. So in some ways I feel awful for you, Mel, that you got that phone call. It's kind of like, what difference would it have made if they just kind of hold off for a day, you know, and not told you at lunchtime but waited till, you know, 5 p.m. when you know, weren't having to go back into a class.
They didn't get in contact with me until I'd finished mostly for the day. I had evening stuff that I was doing, but I basically bowed out on that. But it was the Wednesday, and I still had 2 more days to go, and there was nobody else that could do the job. Like, it's not something that you can hand off to someone else. So I went back to my motel room and I didn't do the evening stuff. They sort of covered me on that because I was just there to help. I wasn't running it. But I had to get myself back together for the next day. In some respects, it's probably good too, because it sort of
you can't deal with it.
Yeah, you just have to do this and divide it all and just. But I think the hard thing for me was actually A, not getting to say goodbye to him, but B, because Apaka was his companion, and Apaka was now by herself, and we weren't with her, and that was the worst bit. She was staying with people, and she doesn't have her companion anymore, and we're not there either, and we were just like, all we want to do is get home.
Yeah, that would have been awful. Yeah.
But anyway, but yeah, it was a very difficult situation because the friends who were taking care of them at the time, because the reason it all happened was the 2 dogs got into a fight, and he wasn't actually really badly injured, but his heart didn't take it, and when he was at the vet being treated, he just went, and so they were just utterly devastated because they were like,
I can't imagine. I was thinking that when you said that.
Yeah,
that as the person looking after them, I would be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, God, the dogs we lost at Christmas, my parents still feel guilt over that. And I'm like, you didn't do anything wrong. It was just, what were you supposed to do? Both Dad and I were there hearing them barking and didn't think anything of it. So it's not anybody's fault.
No, but when something like that happens, you overanalyze every single choice that you made, and you think, did this choice make it happen? Did this choice make it happen?
Yeah.
Is there something I could have done differently that would have changed that? And it's very hard not to think that way, even though the rational part of your brain is saying, there's nothing I could have done, it's not my fault. There's another part of your brain that's saying, but what if I did this, and what if I changed that? Would it have still happened that way?
Yeah, because, and it's hard. You'd have felt guilty, but it's like it's one of those things of, why didn't I go out there? I mean, I feel the same way. I remember seeing my uncle's dog, and I saw him in the garage and thinking, oh, he's really panting really hard. But I didn't think anything like of it, because he would go for runs and be panting, and I just didn't think about it. And I went off for a snooze. By the time I came back, he'd been to the vet and been put down, because he just basically, and I just was like, why didn't I say something? You know, everyone has that kind of guilt, but it's because 100 times before there's been something similar, and you never thought anything of it, and it's just you know.
There's nothing you can do. Things happen, and that's the way it is. It's just like, I've been there. I know. I mean, God, I've had 3 dogs die in 3 years. It's ridiculous.
I know, and I still feel for you so much about Christmas.
Because you lost both at once.
Yeah, that was the thing, and So I think of you guys all the time, Mel. I think of you and I and what you guys went through, because then you had to come back, and anyway, sorry. Probably making you cry. I don't need to.
It's all right. I've gotten used to, because we're doing so much with the pug rescue group at the moment, I've gotten used to people talking about it around us, and it's sort of, you get to the point where not only are you sort of not thinking about it, but you're even not quite thinking about it even while you're talking about it. It's weird.
Yeah. Well, I guess all we can say is you're in our thoughts. We think about you guys.
Yeah,
you know, and
we do.
It's not over. You know, we know the pain goes on. So
Yeah, and I think that's something that's very hard, is because sometimes you feel like the rest of the world has just moved on and gone, it doesn't matter anymore, and you're still breathing, and everybody else feels like it's oh well, you should be over that by now. But it's not that way.
No.
yeah.
Oh, look,
So,
I'm not sure I'll ever quite be over that one.
yeah.
It was, I can't stop seeing the snake. So, yeah, I'm not sure I'll quite ever be over that one. But you move on. That's what you do because you have to. So,
Yeah.
Anyway.
Anyway, we've just recorded all of that, by the way.
Okay, you don't have to
Group
publish
therapy
it.
session. Nobody will watch it anyway.
I don't think anybody would get any, like, if they got past the first hour mark, I'd be in shock.
I had to do that on something we did, actually. I think it was our Interstellar Hangout, because we get quite a few views on that. And I was like, basically like, it goes up to this point and then we get really off topic, because we start talking about breastfeeding and boob sizes. And
Did we? See, I don't even remember now.
well, I remember thinking, I haven't stopped recording. I really should, like, stop the broadcast. And
But you don't know when's the point to do that, do you?
Yeah,
Well, so
yeah.
the problem is you just stop it and you don't do any ending. Or, like, because I was doing it an hour ago when you guys were talking about baby stuff, and I was like, maybe I should just stop it. I mean, we're clearly well off topic. We're probably not going back. I was like, oh, but I can't interrupt just to do an ending. Oh, whatever.
Yeah. Well, I think I did it in that one, but I got a good, like, half an hour of off-topic talk when I've gone, I think I should just, like, we'll keep talking and I'll end this, because it was just...
Actually, speaking of which, I'm ending this now. Bye, anybody watching.